dust is lying. We're tearing the veil tonight. Under NASA's paint, they color correct the truth till it fades away. Face on Mars stares back with ancient eyes. Pyramids rising where the dead wind cries. Cylinders gleaming in the rover's glare. Stone circles standing like they don't belong there. Brian Corey Dobbs got the footage on lock. John Ward slicing through the pixels non-stop. Sahara Cosmos, Ricardo Calvario, Jason Huffman, Shaman, 7-Eleven, Alexander Cheskiewicz. We're all in. Mars Disclosure Live, ripping the lies apart tonight. Pyramids on Mars, life in the dirt, ancient cities buried. Feel the hurt. Mars Disclosure Live, truth is burning through the red sky. We expose the history, the nuked out past, potential for life. It's ours at last. It's ours at last. Xenon 1259 still ringing in the air. Somebody glassed the planet, left it bare. Blue planet red, got the proof on film. Independent eyes, we overwhelm. Rovers catch the shadows, artifacts in frame. They call it geology, we call it shame. Mars Disclosure Live, ripping the lies apart tonight. Pyramids on Mars, life in the dirt, ancient cities buried. Feel the hurt. Mars Disclosure Live, truth is burning through the red sky. We expose the history, the nuked out past, potential for life. It's
Sponsored by Spores MD for your personal mind-body wellness journey.
Greetings, humans. We are live on Facebook, X, Rumble, 7 YouTube channels. We are coming at you from all across the globe. We got Poland in the house, Portugal. We've got South Africa, Canada, and the US of A. We are all over planet Earth today, and we're going to be talking about Mars again on another episode of Mars Disclosure Live. I am Dave from Dave's Multiverse, your host for another wild ride into the unknown. I've also got my lovely producer, Megan Gibson, also known as Miss Indonesia Jones. Megan is coming off of a camping trip near Vancouver Island. How was that?
Yeah, fabulous. I was over on Salt Spring Island. There's fabulous islands all over here.
Amazing. I hope you had a wonderful time. We had Sahara Cosmos was going to join us, but she wasn't able to, but she's in the chat, and I wanted to shout her out. They just did the Sweet Sunday News today. You guys really need to check out this channel if you haven't already, Universe Unveiled with Jacqueline and Sarah. They do interviews with very interesting guests. They also do the Sweet Sunday News, I believe, at 1 p.m. Is that correct, guys? Every Sunday. And they're a delightful bunch. So check out that channel, Sahara Cosmos, Jacqueline, Universe Unveiled. Next up, we've got Jason Huffman, also known as Shaman 7-Eleven. He has been doing all kinds of stuff on his YouTube channel lately, exploring how does it go, Jason? Finding things within and without.
That is the name of my own product, my own little production, Finding Things Within and Without, there on my YouTube page. That's my live, so I'm trying to do 3 of those a week. I have been bogged down with my brother partner Ricardo Calvario here lately, though. We've done several series over on the Institute for Natural Philosophy's page, doing a lot of reading lately, Dave. My reading voice has been getting a serious workout. And unfortunately, other people are telling me it's good. So it's just continuing to get the workout. And the smoking has had to stop. There's all sorts of sort of invasions to my life this reading has brought my way. But thank you, man. Yeah, come find me if you're interested in seeing what I'm doing at the Pagey Show. And I appreciate the share, David. How are you doing, man? I haven't talked to you in a bit.
Lots of fun stuff going on. I'm doing all right. I've just been taking it easy the last week or so, getting some rest. But thank you for asking. Next up, we've got Ricardo Calvario, hailing from Portugal. He's the president of the Institute for Natural Philosophy and co-host of the Shaman and Philosopher podcast. And Ricardo released his first film this week. Is that correct? Let's see if this is it here. And how'd that go?
Oh, no, that was the wrong question. I'm sorry, Ricardo. This was my fault, maybe.
Ricardo, can you hear me? This is the film here. How's that going for you? Can't hear Ricardo all of a sudden. Maybe it's because I'm sharing this. Ricardo, can't hear you, buddy. What's going on?
Something wrong with his mic, I think.
He was working.
Oh, and now we think he's frozen. So
I'll quickly
Check
give
the
the audience the
settings.
update. Yeah, that was he laughs. He does not like for you to call it his film, Dave. That was why I was joking on him. Here he comes. Are you back? Take over.
Yeah,
Your mic's still not working.
Can't hear your mic. Go
Fred
ahead.
and Jermaine Pigeon up in, this is Wisconsin, I believe, have been working for 30 years, most of their life, guys, preserving this native site. And Ricardo, along with many others from the Institute and those that don't like to be named like him, have gone to document their work and their life. And they have made this beautiful production about what they've done. They haven't even put any of their names on it. And yes, Ricardo is much of the motivation and the effort behind getting this put together and trying to support these two people who are fighting boots on the ground for our history. Thanks, Dave.
Yeah, so he shared it on X. Is it available on YouTube as well?
Yeah, and it's completely free. It is free. The only thing that they ask at the very end, you'll see the name of the people the documentary is about and how to contact them and give them funds directly if you're able to help the fight. Other than that, this was done strictly, under initiative of putting this out. I joke on Ricardo every show we do because I'm trying to get him to take a little credit for it, because if nobody had done this and nobody had gone and filmed and helped document and put it together, we wouldn't be sitting here talking about it. So thanks for bringing it up and sharing, Dave.
You're welcome. I just wanted to take the opportunity to share, because we do this Mars Disclosure Live every 2 weeks, but all of us have YouTube channels and other adventures that we do. And so I just wanted to give everybody the opportunity to, share what they're working on lately. So next up, we got John Ward, the legendary John Ward. I'm going to keep using that. He's an independent Mars researcher and graphic designer. He's the guy who shows us all the images that we look at every week. He has a new video of a new anomaly that I thought was particularly interesting. I'm just going to pop it up here quick. Tell us a little bit about your newest video, Jean.
Okay, thanks, Dave. Good to be here, everyone. This is another one of those strange items. I don't know if it's a slab or a megalith, but it's about 6 meters across. And right there in its center, or close to its center, we've got a dish. It's like a dish shape.
Whoa.
And then off to the side, a little round dome-like pot.
Huh.
And this features in an older photograph also taken at the site. And those things are exactly in the same position, except there was a smaller dome-like part to the bottom right, on top of that huge pot, which is now missing. This is from the newer photograph that was taken in April of 2026. And this is at a site in Ioannis Regio, What a strange name. It sounds like something from Star Wars.
It does.
And it's in Arcus Terra, the land of Noah on Mars.
Very cool. And John's doing this all the time, and he's showing us all kinds of cool stuff. So please go ahead and subscribe to his channel.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Next up, we've got our presenter for the day who's going to be talking about a potential lost planet in the solar system. But we've got my editor and author of Deja Vu, Has Everything Already Been? Polish prodigy, I like to call him, Alexander Cheshkovich. He's all over the place. He's got his own YouTube channel. He's constantly doing guest spots on other cool channels. He's been on Jimmy Church. He recently went on, where is it? New Friends of Mine, the Deep Ponder podcast. I did an episode of the Deep Ponder podcast talking about UFOs. How was your experience on the Deep Ponder podcast, Oleg, and how are you?
Hello everyone, thanks for having me on today. I'm really excited for today's presentation. I really enjoyed it, as I always do. And actually, when it comes to the Deep Ponder podcast, we went so many rabbit holes that we went away from the main topic we wanted to talk about. So for sure we will continue in another conversation in the future. So yes, I've recently been to many podcasts. I also, because I finished semester here at my university, so I went through the notes and I'm trying to finally put lots of content about all of the things that, for instance, I will be also talking today. And I can't wait for new Mars things. And I think that finally I will have time and will be able to catch up with more videos from John Ward and from Brian Corey Dobbs to see, everything about Mars and maybe finally, be informed about lots of these things.
Sorry. Thank you so much, man, for joining the show. Really looking forward to your presentation today. And then next up, last but not least, we've got the man who brings this whole thing together, award-winning filmmaker Brian Corey Dobbs. He's been putting out a lot of content on his channel lately. Brian, tell us a little bit about what you've been up to on Blue Planet Red side. And here's the channel here. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe.
Thanks, Dave. It's a team effort. It really is. I'm really proud to be in the company of you guys. So us doing this thing every couple of weeks is a really fun social event for me, and this is starting to take on a life of its own. And I really do think that this is just the beginning here, and it's thanks to you guys for showing up and showing interest in this stuff that this is going to work. And I want to talk about sort of the growth of the community later when we come back to our artifact segment. John and I have an update there. But let me just say here, Oleg, I'm about halfway through your book. It's great. You're making some connections in there, and you're explaining some things that I haven't really seen anyone else do as it relates to this ancient civilization stuff that you explore in the book. I know I'm going to have a number of questions, and maybe sometime offline we can do a one-on-one and compare notes and see if there's some questions I have for you to see if you've heard of some of these other things that I've been looking at. But anyway, great job thus far, and I can't wait to
Thank you.
keep reading it. So great job, and I'm really excited to hear your presentation today.
Let's just check on Ricardo's audio quick. How we doing? Let's give it a go. Nope, still don't gotcha.
Somebody commented that it went to shared media.
I think what you should do is go hover over the top right and find yourself and click the three dots and then go to microphone and then play around with that a little bit and see if you you can choose a different microphone or something. That's what I would do. And while he works on that, let's get started with today's presentation. I've seen a piece of this. He did an episode on my show, but Oleg is going to talk to us today about a potential lost planet that may have been influenced by the Mars catastrophe. Who knows? So let's go ahead and get into that. Oleg, the floor is yours, my friend. I'm going to go ahead and pull up your slides.
Get the presentation going on. Actually, and it's connected to what we've been talking in previous Mars disclosure episodes, everything's connected with everything. And it's not only about today, about Mars, only about the solar system, only about, because mainly I will show you the geometry and an algorithm behind solar system and how it connects to a lost planet in the current form of the asteroid belt, but also to Mars. But it connects to also ancient knowledge and ancient code that can be found in monuments, in ancient texts like Rig Veda and others. And it's also connected to an even bigger idea about how our reality works and about possible code of the simulation of the material world, of the matrix, however you wanna call it. And I wanted to start with science because what I will show today will be completely different from how science is showing us how the universe and how the solar system works, because for science, it's all random after the Big Bang. It's all just random clusters of matter that got clustered according to laws of physics, and any geometry, any kind of, as we've seen with pareidolia, and such things are just coincidences and nothing special. There is no plan, there is no blueprint, there is no big project, there is no everything. Everything is basically at a deeper level lifeless and everything is random. So we'll see today that what I will show you is completely different to what we are being told about how it works. And we'll also talk about this lost planet, and we've heard possibly the names Nibiru, Krypton, Malduk, Marduk, X, 11th, 12th, depending on how we count the planets. And this idea is actually very, very old. It's nothing new, and we'll see that's how it works. And when it comes to, for instance, Maldek is connected with our previous episode about channelings, because in a few channelings, like the raw material, there was mentioned that what I will be talking today about the asteroid belt, it was once a planet called Maldek, and it was the homeland of some kind of god or of some kind of beings in very, very remote era. So as we see, everything is connected. Channelings, physics, mathematics, history, science, astrobiology, and everything. And it's actually based the calculations on my high school essay. In high school, we were to write essays on all the subjects, like history. This one was mathematics essay. And I always were taking very, very strange and the most fascinating to me topics to write about. And it was actual essay a few years ago in my high school, Golden Ratio, the secret of life on our planet and the fine-tuned position of our planet. So it's based on that. And here is how all the planets, because it's crucial, are from the sun and how they are located. It's of course not to scale. We'll show the scale, how big differences there are between the orbits of the planet. But basically, sun, first planet is Mercury, then Venus, then Earth, then Mars. Between Mars and Jupiter is the asteroid belt. Then there is Saturn, Uranus, etc., etc. And here is how it works to scale. So as we see, the first planets are clustered in very close locations, and there the further planets are further and further away from Sun. And we'll start with such a sequence. If it wasn't for 0, it would be called a geometric sequence. So 0, 3, 6, 12. So from 3, each number gets twice the previous number. So 3, 6, 12, 24, 48, etc., etc. To that, we add 4. So still we have, we changed the sequence. It's not a sequence anymore, but still is a little bit logical. We just added 4. So it's 4, 7, 10, 16, 28, 52. What we do next is just take a decimal place, so we are doing nothing crazy. Here is some from 404071, 1.6, etc., etc. And it turns out that this kind of numerology, this kind of black mathematical magic actually shows us the distances from Sun to a particular planet. It shows us how they are located. At 0.4 will be Mercury, 0.7 will be Venus, 1.0 will be Earth, 1.6 Mars, 2.8 there is no planet here, but it's the asteroid belt, then Jupiter, then Saturn, then Uranus, etc., etc. And actually what is crazy, and 1.0 is one Sun-Earth distance. Well, as we see, the Earth is exactly at 1.0, and this distance between Earth and Sun is called in astronomy astronomical units. And sometimes we hear that, okay, this object, this something is 1, 2, or half astronomical units away from us or something. So it basically means that it's based on the distance between Sun and Earth. And I calculated all of that to check out if this, formula, if this kind of sequence that we've created, this algorithm, is it connected to, is it actually true, or is it just like some kind of numerology or something? And I calculated it to many decimal places in the full paper, but what it actually shows us, and as I've said, the Earth is 0% error because it is actually one astronomical unit. All of that I've shown, all of this algorithm is very, very close to reality. For Mercury, it is 2%, for Venus, 2.77%, to Mars, it's 5.26. Asteroid belt, we cannot resolve because it's like not a singular orbit, it's like a huge stretch of area. Then Jupiter is exactly just as Earth, then Saturn 4.82%, and Uranus 2%. So as we've seen, this kind of crazy mathematical stuff that for casual people who are not into this topic my first initial reaction was, wow, how it's possible that it's how the planets are working. It's like some kind of numerology, black magic, how it works. For science, as I've said at the beginning, it's only casual laws of physics. There is nothing to that. And we have here some mathematical stuff going on. And as we've seen in the first table, the Titius Bode, it was discovered, maybe not initially, but it was, further elaborated by Titius and Bode, two scientists, in the late 1700s and early 1800s. So more than 200 years ago. And they already found that. And what is also interesting here is like the page from Wikipedia, that it was found, this algorithm, before some of the celestial bodies were found. And this, I call it algorithm, this method, actually predicted some of the future discovered celestial bodies like Ceres and I think a few other celestial bodies in our solar system. So it actually works. And here is Ceres, which is interesting because this is the largest object in the asteroid belt region and it's almost a planet. And actually scientists were, aware of this Titius Bode method, and when they found Ceres, they were, wait a second, it truly fits this method, but it's too small to be a planet, it's like a moon. And then they discovered that, yeah, wait a second, it's the asteroid belt. Maybe there is something going on, maybe there was a planet. So these discoveries are late 1700s, early 1800s. And here is also another cool feature I just wanted to show from Wikipedia, because you see it graphed. The red one is the Titius Bode prediction, as they call it. They call it it's just random coincidence, it's just randomness. I found plenty of scientific articles and comments of scientists on this method. They say, oh, it's just a random coincidence. Let's say, oh, I randomly go tomorrow and I win the jackpot, and oh, it's random coincidence that, for instance, I chose these numbers and not different ones. So they say it's all a coincidence, but we see it graphed that up until Uranus, or up until Saturn, but I would say Uranus is very, very accurate. So there's much more to that. And I wanted to, and this is for some maths guy, that it can be even plotted as a formula for that. So I wanted to find more about it, how it's possible. I was always into the mysteries of the universe, golden ratio, stuff like that. So I wanted to understand how this random, because initially these guys didn't have like an idea, okay, let's calculate that based on some kind of gravity or on some other laws. It was pretty random to some extent. So I wanted to find out what's, if it's correct, and if it's so random, what's the something like the source of that? What's behind that? So I was digging deeper and deeper, and I found out that it's connected with golden ratio, with Fibonacci sequence, and then further I will show you with ancient numbers, ancient, I would say, code of the matrix of the material world, whatever it is, a simulation or not. And what is Fibonacci sequence even? It's a sequence in which the next term is an addition of the two previous terms. So as we see, 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, etc., etc. And 1 is 0 plus 1 equals 1, 2 is 1 plus 1, 3 is 1 plus 2, etc. So basically the next term in the sequence can be predicted by adding two previous terms. So 3.5 equals 8, 5 plus 8 equals 13, and so on. And it is also interesting that it can be found in nature also, and Fibonacci sequence stands, for instance, behind the procreation of rabbits and some other animals, so it's not like just a random stuff. And another thing about this sequence is that the bigger the terms we divide by the previous terms, the closer the approximation to this famous golden ratio number phi we get. So this golden ratio number is 1.618, etc., etc. Just like pi, it's like an infinitely going number, at least in our model of mathematics, model of numbers. And the bigger the numbers, the terms from the Fibonacci sequence, we divide by each other, as we see. 89 by 55, 55 by 34, but 8 divided by 5 isn't that accurate. And if we took, let's say, a millionth term and divided it by the previous one, it will be even closer approximation, and even more numbers to even more decimal places of accurateness we will get when it comes to this sequence. So it's also very important to what we'll discuss today. And I thought to myself, okay, because I've seen this, that 2, 3, 5, it's pretty similar to this, at least initial planets of the solar system, initial numbers from the Titus Bode. So I thought to myself, how can I, and it was, some would say, pseudoscientific, because I wanted to fit, because I've seen some connection, I've seen some, I would say, ratios in these numbers that are very similar to the Titus Bode method. So I thought to myself, how can I fit that? And I finally was able to fit that if I took the first three terms, and I think it's to some extent logical. 0, 1, 1, okay, let it be Sun, and then 2 will be Venus, and then 2 will be Mercury, 3 will be Venus, etc., etc. And I found out that when I do that, it really fits. So Fibonacci basically fits the Titus Bode. So each term after the first three ones is, like as we see, 2 is 0.44 in Titus Bode. I do that by ratios, as we've seen, between different terms in this sequence. And I plotted it also as a graph in a moment, but I did that. The first table is Titus Bode, the second is Fibonacci from the third term, and then how is the percentage error. And I was to some extent shocked, but to some extent it didn't fit, as we see. So Mercury is exactly 0.4. Venus will be 14% away from that if we, change the scales, change the ratios from the terms from this Fibonacci sequence into the Titus Bode. But then Earth and Mars are exactly within the golden ratio. Then asteroid belt is 7%, but I still think that 7% and the asteroid belt is huge to some extent, so it fits. But then everything after the asteroid belt doesn't fit, 23% and other stuff. So I thought to myself, 47, 78. So I've seen that the first planets are to some extent, spaced from Sun according to the golden ratio. And I thought to myself, it's like, I would say, a myth, a New Age myth or something like that, that the golden ratio is the key to life and it represents life and something. And I've mentioned this golden ratio and this Fibonacci sequence, how it's connected to life as procreation. So I thought to myself, maybe that's the secret, because according to scientists, only Mars and Earth are within the Goldilocks zone, so the zone for life, for the best for the best kind of things for life to emerge. So I thought to myself, maybe that's why, maybe if we get into consideration this theory of a lost planet, that there was a planet in this space when the modern asteroid belt is, maybe there was some kind of a cataclysm in the solar system that led to disruption, that led that, okay, other stuff is messed up and only life can be found on Earth, and on Mars probably it died, something like that. So here is also how we can actually plot that onto the famous Fibonacci spiral. So again, Sun is the first three terms, then the Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, asteroid belt, and doesn't it look similar to what I've shown this? It's like public domain image from Wikipedia about how these planets are actually located from, the center, the sun away. I think it's very, very interesting to say the least, and I think that there is something going on. So this would be about the asteroid belt. I think you, Dave, wanted to comment on that, and we can go into how it's connected to ancient cosmologies and ancient numbers. If maybe you can comment on that, guys.
If I'm understanding you correct, Oleg, I finally think I saw it there in your last numbers, and I definitely see what you're going at with the Fibonacci here, but it's as though the perfection you were striving to find with these numbers, it's as though it were there, but something with force happened mostly in one direction and maybe perhaps pinged something in the other direction, and the other three were remaining solid. So if I take those numbers and I then transfer that to a model of the planets, I get where you're going. If my layman's terms was understanding, because I suck at math, dude.
Yeah.
That's
I
kind of
agree
what
with
I'm
you.
saying.
It's a theory. I don't know for sure, but probably, because I think there is a connection with that to some kind of idea that wildlife can appear on these planets and on these other cannot, and maybe. So yes, I would agree to some extent.
Yeah, the data kind of looks like an explosion or a disruption to what might have been a more better aligned system. I completely see it. Thanks, Tim.
Correct. Yeah, and if you could stay on this slide, I think this is the one that like hit home for me the most, because it shows, obviously Earth and Mars within the Goldilocks zone, and then the asteroid belt, which is just chaos, is in between all the other planets, and then the sequence breaks down.
And also one last thing, and you see that Earth, Mars, and Mercury are within 0% error, so
Right.
ideally
Very close.
perfectly. And
Ideal,
Venus,
yeah.
you had a guest, I don't remember, sorry, his name, but you had a guest that told you about his idea that there was a catastrophe involving Venus, and I think Velikovsky also mentioned that, Venus.
Yep.
So I'm thinking maybe that's why
Yep.
Venus is also, not perfectly aligned to that, but that's just hypothesis.
Stinky McDougal, he's into the idea that Venus collided with Earth.
Electric
Yeah, and it's very interesting. It's like way over my head, to be honest. But he really tried to get that out there.
I was bored as shit, Dave, until he got to this right here, which struck you too, because this, for those of us that don't follow numbers as well, I mean, we can see, those of us that know the things about Venus, right? We've got rumors about Venus. We see Mars, we know it's habitable. We see Mercury hanging out where it should be. And then we see something that should be there that isn't, that's just, and everything after it is wrong. It's just very clever and clear, Oleg.
Ricardo, can we hear you now, bro?
I don't know. Can you?
Yes,
hear me?
Yes.
yes, we can.
Wow. What an
I'd-
improvement.
I'd love for you to comment on what Oleg has showed us so far.
Okay. First, you have to realize I only saw the last 2 minutes, right?
Okay.
But I was rebooting the computer. But I never seen this applied, and I think it's an amazing idea to try and do and apply sacred geometry to the distance of the planets. I'm just curious about the positions he placed on Jupiter, Saturn, and Uranus that are showing errors from 23 to 78%. And this would be maintained even if there were more planets in the solar system, or this is a product of there isn't any planets until we reach to these ones? What is
Yes, I plotted, I think, a few more, like all of them, and each one after asteroid belt does not fit the Fibonacci sequence, unfortunately. But to some extent, up until Uranus, this Titius Bode, this previous one, algorithm method, it fits to some extent, as we've seen here, up until Uranus approximately.
Yeah, but my question is, would the values be better if there were more orbits, more planets, or it would be the same results for Jupiter, Saturn, and Uranus? That's my question.
I think it would be, the same, that after asteroid belt, they do not fit just.
Okay.
Because of an ancient cataclysm that happened right next to Mars, like literally right next door.
Yeah, that a lot of people that follow Sitchin would say it would be a rogue planet entering the solar system, disrupted everything, changed the orbits, and
yeah, I prepared a bit. I don't know, maybe John or Brian wanted to comment, but I prepared we can do an intersection here about these kind of stuff, about Sitchin and others, and about this lost planet.
Yeah, Alex, thanks, man. It looks good. I've never seen this mathematical algorithm applied to the position of the planets. It's very interesting, very intriguing. What I'm wondering is, was the asteroid belt possibly a planet that broke up into those millions and millions of smaller pieces? I've seen a comment that if you put all those together, all those pieces of the asteroid belt together, it's going to be a planet a little smaller than Mars. So was it possibly a moon of Mars? Or was it a planet that came into our solar system and wreaked havoc?
you have to. I've seen that argument used so many times to say that the asteroid belt is what it is because it was too small to ever be able to be a planet and just couldn't aggregate as the other planets. That's completely wrong from my perspective, because if it was a planet that exploded, what you have in the asteroid belt is what, 30% of what the planet was? Do you understand my thought? The rest is scattered. It caused the calamities and take in on Mars. It's everywhere, right?
So what you're saying,
it's everywhere.
So the asteroid belt is only part of the remnants of a possible planet that was destroyed.
Under this perspective,
So it could have been
yes.
bigger than Mars, and Mars could have been the moon of this planet.
Or just another planet. We don't know.
Yes. That's very interesting. Thank you.
Brian, did you want to comment? You're muted, brother.
Okay, here we go. Sorry. Oleg, this is great. Jason, I'm with you. Numbers sort of aren't my thing either, but the graphs help. I think this is an interesting insight. I've got a feeling some of this. I feel like I've seen some of this before, coming from Thunderbolts and the Electric Universe community. Oleg, it might be worth us spending a little bit more time looking into any possible connection with the Electric Universe. I mean, especially, I don't know if you got a chance to watch Michael Claridge on the Matt Bell podcast. He's the one of the active Electric Universe researchers out there actually doing experiments up in Canada with the Sapphire Project, which I only know just the basics of. But he was on Matt Bell's podcast talking about how the sun is connected with all the planets with these invisible filaments. And if our understanding of the universe and Newtonian gravitational laws of physics is completely wrong, and what we really should be interpreting from what we observe is an electromagnetic connection, then this might be a way of sort of predicting planetary placements based on electromagnetic forces, versus gravitation, what we understand as gravity and gravitational forces. I don't know enough to speak about any of this with authority, but there's been plenty of people who have studied this, and I have a feeling I've seen some like planetary placements based off of electric universe model of the universe. And there was a comment that I screenshotted. Riccardo Petrazzi. Let's see, what was his name here? I did it here. Riccardo Petrazzi had a comment that came up while you were giving your presentation, Oleg. He says those numbers also relate closely to ratios calculated by Professor Don Scott. There it is. Thank you. IEEE Associate Electrical Engineer of the Electrical Double Layers of the Sun. So Don Scott is is electrical engineer. He's a PhD. He was in my film, and he was talking mostly about electrical discharge and how planets themselves can have charge, and if you get two of them close enough together, they can discharge between the two. But he also has a lot more to say about electric universe and about the sun's true nature and about how all of this works. He's got videos on thunderbolts and such. So Riccardo Petrazzi, thank you for the comment. I just have a gut feeling, Oleg, that this really reflects, this really supports an electric universe understanding of the cosmos versus a gravitational one. But it's something that we would need to sort of put a little bit more effort into truly understanding the basics, because I don't know enough to talk about it with any sort of authority.
Yep, calculating the formulas and whatever stands behind all of that. I agree, I'm on the fence when it comes to the electric universe, because I agree most of them, like 80% of the equations when it comes to the gravitational stuff and to the electromagnetic are all the same, but you just change. Here you've got the gravity, here you've got the electromagnetic. So, but it's like, here I had some formula or something like that, and you just change A for G or something like that. Imagine that A equals 0.4, but K would be for gravity and Z would be for electromagnetism. So I am aware of that, and I was investigating that, but probably not that deep. But while I'm still on the fence is that I tried to recalculate like gravity with electromagnetic stuff and vice versa, and I found out that it's not like equal, like these are different scales. So we still need to figure out, and that's I think the biggest problem of the electric universe, still figure out like the numbers, the scales, like the recalculation, because it seems that on a microscopic scale it's different than of course on the macroscopic scale. It's actually one of the biggest problems in physics. So I'm still on the fence, I'm still open, but there is much more to that for sure when it comes to the calculations. Also, Riccardo Petrazzi mentioned author Joseph Farrell, and I have here his book in Polish, it's The Wars of Gods, and I will be mentioning that because you've said that, you've seen that somewhere. All of that when it comes to this presentation, the Titus Bode stuff was found late 1700s, early 1800s. It's all been there, but we still need to figure out what stands behind that. And Riccardo Petrazzi mentioned Joseph Farrell because someone said that first it was Sitchin about the interpretation of Enuma Elish, so Babylonian epic of creation, into this war of different planets and this kind of destruction of this additional planet in the solar in asteroid belt region. But then it was Joseph Farrell who much further investigated this idea. And I mentioned last time another guy called Tom van Flandern, and he is the true scientist, like doctor in these kind of sciences, and he said actually, which is very interesting to what we've talked about, the remote viewing Mars, because Tom van Flandern said, he's a scientist in these fields like of the cosmos, that he believes that this destruction of the planet when the asteroid belt nowadays was about 3 to 3.2 million years ago. I just skimmed through it a few days ago, and the same with Joseph Farrell. There's much more to that, and we could, go into everything, but I wanted today only to show like the surface, and I think the biggest game changers, because if you see that it's almost exactly like the golden ratio, like the Fibonacci sequence, if you see the geometry, I think it's the biggest change, paradigm shift for people to wait a minute. It's much more than just, as I've said at the beginning, random clusters of matter or just laws of physics, because laws of physics are not predicting what I've showed on the presentations. They are, completely different stuff. So there is still something to be found there, and that's why I mentioned. I'm also on the fence with this idea about that Enuma Elish mentions this destruction of the planet, because I got like plain English translation from mainstream science, and when you read that you do not see that clearly, and Sitchin and then other authors like Joseph Farrell actually took this verse is good, this verse is not, etc. But I think when reading that there is something about the Enuma Elish, about planets and about celestial bodies in the solar system, because there is even mention that some kind of Lahamu, something like that, are like the zodiac signs in the heavens, that they were the first and then the gods came, and we know very well that in the ancient times the gods were personified very often as planets. We see Mars, Ares for example. So, but I'm still on the fence, because I think Sitchin changed a bit in the story, because he claimed that he could translate it himself, and he chose a few paragraphs, a few verses that if you take the full picture of the Enuma Elish, I think it's more about metaphysical cosmology, about the beginning of everything, that at the beginnings there are these infinite waters, as in the case of the ancient Egypt, etc., etc. So that was this part, like in between. When it comes, I have the other part, but shorter for sure, when it comes to the presentation, about how it connects to sacred geometry, ancient text, ancient code, and further to maybe if we calculate all of that. Because what science, what physics is basically doing nowadays is searching for all the laws of physics, and if they have all the laws of physics, they potentially, with tons of computing powers, could predict like most of the outcomes of the entire universe. So basically predict the physical part of the future. Of course it's impossible, in an ideal state with unlimited computational power, etc. But I think that we are doing the same here, and as you've said, that there is something deeper within these numbers, maybe electrical universe stuff. I think if we, finally maybe, yes, ahead of us, finally understand that and finally calculate that, I believe that it's the tip of the iceberg into decoding, what I say, the code of the matrix, like the code of the reality. We know that our reality is, that there is some kind of blueprint behind that, and I think what we are doing nowadays, and what the electrical universe is doing too, what physics to some extent is also doing, but in their own manners, is trying to decode the reality. And I think that if we had the formula and the code of the matrix, maybe we could like materialize matter out of thin air. Maybe just like some yogis, some mystics possibly are doing that. So let's go into this stuff. This was already, but I think it's very interesting that it's all plotted on this Fibonacci spiral.
I think it's important to add to you just real quick, Oleg, while you've been going on about all the different theories, I should say, about the planets, their locations, and what could or could not have caused that. If I just keep it really simple, and this is a credit to you, I think, for helping me keep things simple here with that graph, man. Look, the Fibonacci sequence, as you show here, right, and these golden ratios, those appear in the smallest pieces of nature. Yeah. And if we're keeping it simple, and if we're looking at the bottom of things first, I know those sequences appear physically in the material world as a way which nature structures itself. Yes? When you show me that graph, then, if I'm logically, I understand as above, so below, what is small generally holds true for what is big in the universe. Why would I be shocked to find the planets arranged in numbers that would line up as you were expecting to find when you investigated? That to me seems a normal place to start. Then I saw your numbers lined up, man, and I know all of these different theories everybody said, and they lined up with the areas in the planets that they had theories about, right? So
Yeah,
why would
I
this-
agree. As,
yeah.
as above, so below, microcosm,
you.
macrocosm. So yeah, it's all about that, I think, and it shows
Yeah.
us that there is some code. Because if it's the same way on the big scale, it's the same way on the small scale and even smallest one. I think it shows us that there is some kind of code blueprint behind that, and that's what I'm trying to search here with numbers in a minute.
Yeah, there's a good observation there, Jason. I was thinking about something similar, and you jogged my memory. Thank you. It's the scalability here, the fractal properties of nature, right? We see the spiral, seashell, plants, fractals in nature. Okay. We see. And the spiral shape here that this Fibonacci sequence is that what you is this golden ratio?
Yeah, Fibonacci. It's golden spiral. You can.
Okay, golden spiral. This is fractal in nature, right? This is
Yeah.
a fractal. Okay. Electric Universe also demonstrates how the formation of galaxies are not because of gravitational forces. The spiral nature of the galaxies are due to the electromagnetic properties of the universe. Now they've got, Thunderbolts channel has done a number of videos on this. And so when I'm seeing this spiral here, I can't help but think that, look, spiral galaxies have exactly that, spiral properties and arms and such. And we already know that the formation of galaxies is problematic because there's not enough matter to keep it all together, which is why science has invented out of thin air this thing called dark matter. That sounds really cool, but it's just a placeholder. It's just a word that they use for we don't know what's causing this. We don't know why the spiral galaxy is held together. There's not enough gravity to hold it together to keep it from flying apart. So they invented a word to make everyone feel better about themselves. So we don't have to explain this. Meanwhile, you've got Electric Universe saying, no, we've explained this. You don't need to concoct some new variable that means nothing. So the very nature of spiral galaxies is explained by. So I'm just wondering here, I'm just trying to do my best to connect dots. I'm seeing spirals, and I'm saying, and we're talking about scalability. And as Robert Schoch mentions in my film about electric discharge, electric discharge itself is scalable. You've got, just to think about shocking yourself on the door handle, okay, versus a lightning bolt, okay, versus the thing that created Valles Marineris on Mars. Now, I just wonder if a giant plasma electrical discharge created that United States continent-sized scar on Mars, what would happen to a smaller planetary body, say between Mars and Jupiter, that got zapped with something even bigger? Would it have blown it all apart? Did it simply get too close to Jupiter or something else? Was it a rogue planet that flew by and they just zapped? I'm speculating like hell right now. I'm just trying to do my best to connect some dots here. But do we know what is said as far as the predicted size of what we think used to be there? Do we have any idea about what could have been there, what size it might have been?
It might have been.
Yeah,
ahead,
go
Oleg.
Ricardo, go.
I was. It's very quickly. I was just going to say it had to be big because it is in the Greek records. Doesn't mean that they saw it, but they have records of that planet and they call it Phaeton. Right? There's many names around the globe, but for the Greeks in their records, it was Phaeton. So it was big enough and reflective enough to be in a magnitude sufficient to be seen by the naked eye.
Okay.
Yeah, there are plenty of theories, as I think John mentioned that he heard that a theory that it may be smaller than Mars, etc. But we don't know for sure. I know that the mainstream consensus is that for them, yes, there was a planet there, but it was probably a deformation at the beginning of the solar system where the planets were forming, and then there was this cataclysm that destroyed it. As I've said, Tom van Flandern said that for him it was about 3 to 3.2 million years ago, which is coincidental with the channelings. But here I have another screen sharing because I just found it simply on the internet. I think I have even better ones, but somewhere in the notes or in textbooks. But what these are equations for different stuff, like gravitational field, like electric stuff. But it's a similarity between gravitational stuff and electric stuff, and especially the fourth row you see Fg equals G, M R in between, and on the other side you see F electric. So the first one is F gravitational, and then you have force electrical. It's the same, but you have different kind of letters for it, so different kinds of stuff to substitute to that. And above that you see that EP equals, and the last one minus GMM divided by R, and then EP equals K, Q1, Q2 divided by R. So these are basically the same equation, but you give different kind of things. Here you give stuff connected with electric, like constants and like different kinds of things. And here you do that. So I was studying physics. I don't remember, unfortunately, all of that, but I want to in the future elaborate on that. And there are huge connections, but still we cannot like find, because I wanted to try like, let's calculate based on these equations, but use the electric stuff to the gravitational stuff. And it didn't fit, unfortunately. And I was trying this way. I have an entire like A4 size notebook with such equations, but with all of that, I came up with this idea that I'm talking today about these numbers, and I will show in a minute more of that. But when it comes to the electric universe, there is something going on for sure, but I don't think we yet found the exact solution. That's why there are problems. That's why there are plenty of people who say, oh, we are debunking electric universe. I don't think they are 100% debunking, but I think they are showing that we don't have the full thing yet. So this would be about these equations, which are almost the same. And I think, Dave, we should go to presentation.
So
again.
Those are equations, not an alien speech.
No, equations, both
Okay.
from the gravity stuff and for the electric stuff. And they are the same, but you substitute different things, different like constants and different kinds of, measures. Like here you've got some very small measure, here you have bigger, here you have gravity constant, and here you have mass, but in this other you have electric something. I don't remember, I didn't prepare for that today because I want to go further into the maths and because I think that, as Jason said, for people even who are not into maths, I think if we show that, this may be the biggest like paradigm shift. No, it's not random. There is something behind that. And as I say, like in the end of everything, it may lead to the code of reality. So let's go further. We've seen that everything was based on this astronomical unit. So basically the distance between Sun and Earth, because everything about this 0.4, 0.71, it's all about astronomical units. So Mercury is 0.4 astronomical units. So basically in 40% distance between Sun and Earth. Venus is 0.7, so 70% distance from Sun and Earth. So everything is connected to this distance between Earth and Sun. And why is it important? Because what I will show you here, this is also, like, I really like presenting that because it shows you it so well. And I will tell you and I will show you proof that all of that is true. All of that I'm showing here. So 108 diameters of the Sun equals the distance between Sun and Earth. 108 diameters of the Moon equals the distance between Moon and Earth. And then 108 diameters of the Sun equals the diameter of the Earth equals the diameter of the Sun. And I was, wait a minute, how it's even possible? So I decided it was a maths essay. Yeah, it's true, but I will show you the calculation. It's exactly for the first one 0.7, and it's beyond like randomness, probability, etc. Because for the first one it's 0.7%.
Can you go back to the one slide?
Yeah, I will comment on that in a minute. Because
in here.
Yeah, this.
Yeah. So 108 diameters of the Sun equals the distance. Okay, the distance between the Sun and the... Okay, now I got it. Okay.
Yes.
Yes. And this is all true. And, these are the three, we can say, mathematical equations. So let's say x is the diameter of the sun. So x times 108 equals this distance, etc. These are three equations. And from these three equations, I calculated percentage error because I was, okay, it's again numerology, random coincidences as scientists would like us to, see it. So I say, okay, so maybe it's not 108 exactly, but let's say 103 here, 105 here, 100 there. No, it's exactly 108. First one to 0.778%, the second to 0.25%, and the third to 1.136%. So this is all true almost exactly. So it would be, if we wanted to have like few decimal places, it would be the diameter of the sun times 108.001 or 01, something like that. It's almost exactly 108. And I found it by actually Sadhguru. I'm not a great fan of him. I used to be, but he collaborated like with WEF and he wants to depopulate stuff. And he had a few other dark stuff when it comes to his work, but I still respect his work. And he says that it was possibly from like a yogic wisdom or something, that the diameter, this is what I've told you, that the diameter of the sun multiplied by 108 equals the distance between sun and earth, and the diameter of the moon multiplied by 108 equals the distance between earth and moon. The diameter of the sun is 108 times the diameter of the earth. So basically I plotted it. I wanted to say, wait a minute, is it true? So I plotted it in this way. And then it's like the basic set of equations. So let's say the sun is X, the earth is Y, and the moon is Z. And you can, and I was doing that for maths. I have, if anyone is wondering if it's really true, I have like all the calculations. I have an entire paper in English even. And you can, change these equations into that 400 diameters of the moon equals the diameter of the sun, or 400, I should do brackets here, 400 of distances from moon to earth equals the distance from sun to earth. And I said, wait a minute. I was going further and further, and I found finally this. 43,200 diameters of the moon equals the distance between the sun and earth. And 432 hertz in the conspiracy theories and, healings, exactly. But also, this is from my book, actually, that number.
If you multiply the square, what is it, the square footage of the pyramid by 432,000, you get the diameter of the earth. Wait. Oh, I'm skipping you. I'm sorry, dude. I'm sorry. My bad.
Here. Yeah, but
this is crazy.
Yeah, here's also from my book. I wanted to calculate because everyone is talking. Great Pyramid being the model of the Northern Hemisphere, and I think that, personally, that the Great Pyramid is like some kind of thing, like not like the bunker or a bank for like physical stuff, but I think it's encoded with so many mathematical and this kind of geometrical and, astronomical and geographical stuff that I think that it was for someone in the future to see, wait, if this stuff are encoded. And we know very well that the Egyptians were very primitive when it comes to math. They approximated pi to 3, just 3, like 3.14 or something. But in the Great Pyramid, there is exactly the number pi, the golden ratio again, and this kind of idea that the Great Pyramid of Giza is the model of the Northern Hemisphere. So half of the Earth on a scale of 1 to 43,200. And again, 0.38% error for the height. So height would be the polar radius. So the radius from the exactly center of the Earth to the polar North Pole, and then the error when it comes to the sides of the Great Pyramid, the base sides and the equator, 0.5%. And I think that it is a model in this scale. On this scale, here are again these calculations if anyone wanted to double check them or something. But again, number of syllables in the Rig Veda, 432 with 3 zeros. Number of stanzas in the Rig Veda, 10,800. All of these numbers are again astronomical. These are not random numbers, and these are not like just basic numerology. These are numbers connected with another astronomical phenomenon called the precession of the equinoxes. I think fans of Graham Hancock and guys like that know about this stuff. So basically, Earth has 3 orbits, I would say. So first it, revolves around the sun. Then it, of course, revolves around its own axis. This is like the 24-hour day. And then there is the third, which we see on the left side with this model of the Earth, a third orbit of the Earth, like this wobble of the Earth, and an entire circle that we see encircled on the above with this orbit is lasting for 25,920 years, which is also called the Great Year, the Platonic Year. This is the entire precession of the equinoxes. But what is very important is that because of that, we see on horizon, on like the solstices, not solstices, but on the when there is equal day and night. So it's solstice and I forgot the English word.
You know what? Equinoxes and solstices.
Equinoxes. Yeah, exactly. So during equinoxes, you see different kind of zodiac signs on the horizon. These are, of course, just our own man-made thing. Okay, this is Libra, this is this, etc. But you see each, if we divide zodiacs into 12 zodiac signs, the whole zodiacal cycle, then each 2,160 years, there is a new sign on the horizon during the spring equinox. Because of that, and because of that, we see these zodiac signs. And I actually found, after recently passed away David Wilcock actually found, after other guys, that history seems to repeat itself on basis on these zodiacal epochs. And in the, I think, last chapter, or like the one of the last chapters of my book, I explored this idea that history actually repeats due to the cycle. And when it comes to that, this is a non-like numerology, let's say calculate based on 432 and 108 that history will be repeating. No, this is an objective material astronomical phenomenon that can be measured, that it's measured, that it's a true astronomical fact. It's not like numerology, charlatanism, or extrasensory perception even. This is a true material phenomena that shows us that everything is based on that. And I think that that's why this knowledge was encoded in the Great Pyramid of Giza. That's why it was encoded when it comes to the ancient texts. And that's why it's important even today in all of the New Age stuff, spiritual, conspiracy theory, because it's very important both to time and space. Because basically, okay, time passes, but if we talked about it recently, I think 2 or 3 episodes ago, that basically our solar system is, moving around in space, and what time is just, different positioning. If we wanted to, mathematically, let's say, and objectively say what the time is, let's say I take a screenshot of the solar system now and a year ago, it would be just a solar system in different kind of, formulation and in different place in the entire universe. So basically, time, space are correlated to each other. So I think that it's a code between time and space, possible evidence for reincarnation, because if history repeats itself and if the universal ideas are repeated due to the cycles of time, and if this was a very important knowledge, I treat it as some kind, and astrology seems to be that, even the modern day one, which isn't that accurate, but I think of it as an ancient instructions manual of living here in this game of life, game of simulation, etc. So that's why I think it's all connected. And then again, this number in the Great Pyramid of Giza, this number in, the Rig Veda, etc., this number reported today. And the last thing about this kind of geometries and what is connected, I will come back to this thing that it's connected. I just added this because I was calculating that in the paper too, because I've seen on Brian's channel a short of a guy plotting this kind of thing with with 3, 4, 5 triangles, and people connect that to like the Great Pyramid of Giza too. But yes, there is much more to that, and I think there is much more even to all of that. And I have even a few more examples that are maybe less like that good and that huge like today's. But what I think is that these things are everywhere, literally, and I think we should find them, and we should, calculate what's the basis behind that, what's the blueprint, what's the, literally, it's a metaphor, even code of the matrix, and then we can actually know what it's all about. And you can also, here is another thing connected, that you can calculate that this thing, that phi under this, I forgot how it's in English, it's pierwiastek in Polish, but basically it's also on the right side, this thing in the brackets. It's very important in maths, and in physics it's very often there, and it's basically 108 divided by 400, and both 108 and 400 were here in this calculations there, here 400, 108, so it's all based on the same thing, both in time, both in space. Here, if anyone was wondering, is a division of the zodiacal epochs on this entire scale of 25,920 years, and each lasts approximately, some are, because when it comes to the zodiac signs, how we know, okay, this is Scorpio, this is Gemini, etc. It's our thing, okay, it looks like that, let's keep it like that. Maybe there was some kind of meaning previously, but some of these are shorter, like take less space on the horizon than others. Some are much broader on the horizon, if you know what I mean. So not exactly everything is, divided into 12. This is the modern, this table, it's again from my book, but it's based on some astronomical calculations, how they would be plotted if we had like exactly astronomical data when it comes to these stars and these constellations. So basically it's it. I think I tried my best to show you the connection, because why I'm talking about this, about that, I see that everywhere in here it is a connection, and I call it that maybe in the future it will be the code of the matrix, the code of the reality. But I wanted to, connect that, because again, everything is connected. This lost planet stuff with Mars, some kind of a prehistoric cataclysm in the solar system, ancient texts. And I think it shows us that just as we were talking about channeling, about ancient texts, and about possibility that there was some kind of intelligent life civilization on Mars, maybe that's why it's encoded here. Maybe these kind of survivors from Mars wanted us to know exactly these numbers. And just as today we do similar stuff, and we are sending universal language, and we are sending stuff, they say this with this kind of plate with how humans look like, and some information that it's like nudes for extraterrestrials, because they're naked humans showed there how we look like physically. But I think if someone more advanced than us wanted to do the same thing, to, maybe right now we are just beginning to discover all the things encoded in this text, in the megaliths, etc. I think it's similar to like Transformers and some sci-fi movies, that let's imagine, this is hypothetical scenario, I'm not like maybe fully convinced to that, but let's say people from Mars are escaping to Earth, maybe terraforming the Earth to help it sustain life. That's why the elements of giants and stories like that, they say to people, okay, you keep these primitive stories because they look like that, but they will have deeper meaning. And that's why all these schools, because there was this tradition, schools like in India and everywhere else, that we need to exactly copy this knowledge to future generations, like recite it by heart, like 100% correct. And I think that these advanced guys, okay, let's build the pyramids. They will last for a much longer period of time than any other kinds of buildings or any other kinds of technologies, if we left, let's say, machines. And let's keep these primitive humans, because let's say primitive in ancient India, ancient Sumer and stuff like that, let them have these myths, let them have these legends, but let encode in them, and let's say this is very important. Let's say we are the gods, and we say, okay, this is by gods, you need to, in all of these myths, and you will pass these myths down for generations, and you need to encode this number, and you need to always divide everything, like number of stanzas into this and number of syllables into that. You can change the story, whatever. The same with other myths, like Ricardo said, the myth of Phaeton, and others like Atlantis. But let's say these advanced guys say, okay, but let's keep these seeds, that they will be there forever, because, okay, these are the sacred numbers for this kind of culture, these are the sacred numbers for this, and this is encoded in the Great Pyramid of Giza. And they will finally reach a level of advancement. And I think we are just maybe beginning to reach that. Maybe there are further information encoded in that about the entire reality. Why are we here? The entire codes behind the solar system, the universe, physics, etc. And people are finding, this numerologies in the pyramids, etc. Maybe there is something to that. And maybe it was, all encoded, and maybe we're just rediscovering it.
Yeah, I'm just super glad that there's brilliant young people like yourself that are working on this because, if you keep exploring this for another 20 years, who knows what else you could come up with. If you could go back to the slide that shows the numbers deviate after how bad they deviate after the asteroid belt, I'd appreciate it, because I definitely wanted to bring this back to Mars, because my whole thing with this, and all those sacred numbers that show up everywhere, I think you're onto something. But when we're talking specifically about Mars, this looks like a dang catastrophe happened right here, right next door to Mars, and that really blows me away. Ricardo mentioned that this is the absolute speed. We're moving 1.34 million miles an hour. I was wondering if you could elaborate on that a little bit as we.
So that's our actual speed against the microwave background of space. So that's our absolute speed. So we usually hear about the speed of the rotation of the Earth, the speed of rotation around the sun, the speed of the sun, the speed of the galaxy. And that is the upper level. So that's the absolute speed that we are moving right now, according to scientists, is that. So,
got it. And Brian, I saw you nodding your head at a couple different points there that he was making. Did you want to comment on his presentation?
Well, I think Oleg does a fantastic job connecting the dots. I'm in the middle of your book, Oleg, talking about these disaster cycles, which I'm sort of preoccupied by. Dr. Allison is making me feel better. She says, no, don't worry about it, which is nice. And I just watched your interview with her. It was great.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, man, I've got a lot of questions, Oleg. As it relates to disaster cycles, Atlantis, previous. Look, I'm on board with you, man. I think that I'm in agreement with you that it's clear at this point, given these ancient megalithic sites, given the evidence for what we see, given the understanding of mathematics and these encodings of precessional cycles and such in all these mythological texts, we'd be stupid not to say, hey, look, every time we watch some murder mystery movie or TV show, right, there's the protagonist who's trying to connect the dots, follow the leads. However, I got a lead, right? Well, take it. Go for it. See where it goes, right? That's what we expect of our heroes, right? So when you have all these naysayers and wannabe debunkers out there saying, no, there's nothing to it, like they're high on copium. They just don't want to accept that there's some alternative narrative out there that completely destroys the existing narrative. And they won't entertain such ideas, which is ridiculous. When the evidence is staring at us in right in the face, I'm in agreement. Like these, I can't say 100% of the pyramids. I don't spend a lot of time looking at all the pyramids, but there's a lot of them. And just look at the thing you have up on screen. I was getting into it a little bit with Neil, Gnostic informant, who's currently fighting with Dan the Debunker all over Twitter. Right, yeah. But he's of the opinion that these pyramids, the Great Pyramid here, that's just a tomb, and that there's the one reference saying it was whomever's tomb it was. Like, look at that thing. Look at the inside of it. Ergonomically, would you ever build a tomb that was so difficult to get in and out of? It just doesn't make any sense. Why have these mysterious shafts, and they just want to twist themselves in knots trying to explain this stuff, and it just does it's illogical to me. And I just think that if we started from scratch and we didn't have the cultural context, I just think that we would have a better perspective on these things. And there's clearly, and I'm just trying to.
You don't understand, Brian. It was a national project. It was a national project of Egypt. You misunderstand. Sorry.
I know, and I think that's the problem, is that if the Egyptians say, "Oh yeah, okay, these weren't tombs," and I think that they feel like their culture is being threatened, right? Because they've built up this whole industry of tourism, basically. Oh, come here, you can see our ancient dynastic Egyptian stuff, which is all cool, right? But if they have to introduce something else to say, hey, look what these things weren't actually. Why go through all the trouble to build something that big? Has anyone here seen the pyramids in person?
Negative.
I mean, I can only imagine how big it must be sitting there so big in front of your face. But why go through all the trouble to build that for a tomb? It doesn't make any sense, because this is the point Ashish was making on your show, Dave, that just the manpower alone would have taxed the civilization to such a degree that, people would be dying off, how much water and food you need. Just, why put your manpower into something like that and just takes away from the functioning of society? It makes no sense. And given the timeline that they say, it's just all ridiculous. So yeah, I'm in the process of personally rewriting my whole, understanding of history.
That if you consider construction as we envision it.
You're right, exactly.
Because it's
And
not
that's-
logical. It has been done as we think it was. It's just
Right.
not logical.
It's not logical. No. And so when we start to think about, well, did aliens come down and build the pyramids? Well, hey, maybe kind of, sort of, in a way. If they have, just look at those, this is the thing. What's it? These walls that we see in various parts of the world with the giant 100-ton blocks.
Cyclopean walls.
Cyclopean. You beat me.
Okay. When you're trying to make the argument that, oh, yes, we had the ability to cut stone back in the day. Maybe they did. But one cut in one plane does not equal a perfect fitting for, fitting around rocks to such a precise degree. It seems more obvious that they were heated and sort of melted into place in some way, right? Just think of when you see lava flowing and then it hardens. It's sort of in a malleable state. It just looks like that. So
yeah, the Cyclopean architecture is based on mud. Keep going, but it's like when you look at cracked mud, I forget the science behind it, but the way that pattern happens when mud dries is what you see in Cyclopean walls, which are then earthquake resistant.
So if you start there, what can melt rock to such a degree that it's not completely liquid? It's just, you can shape it, but also lift it and place it, and it's 100 tons. That seems, and to think that primitive people did that.
Maybe they had this code of the Matrix. I'm looking for these equations, and maybe they, materialized that or manipulated matter into that.
But they're not primitive anymore. They're advanced.
Right. They're advanced, but it could be, just for say, it could be human, just as Alec is going. If they have this knowledge he's seeking and they encode these numbers, then they obviously are way ahead of wherever we are.
Or
and
maybe
then did we forget it?
Well, and that's, go ahead, Oleg.
one last thing. Maybe they were primitive, really, really primitive when it comes to the physical stuff. But just as have anyone been reading stuff about yogis, even modern ones for the last 200 years? They say that they are manipulating matter, they are manipulating energy, they can materialize everything, gold, stuff, palaces, etc. Some only for a moment, some permanently they can levitate and stuff like that, and they tell you that they are manipulating reality, and there are possibly like examples when plenty of people seen this miracle, and even miracles in the past were very very common. In Europe, medieval times, ancient maybe not that often, but they were to some extent more often than nowadays. So I think maybe they were really primitive. Let's say they didn't care about technology as we know it today.
They were
Because
spiritual
maybe-
in essence. They weren't materially based. They leaned into the other aspect of this world, the spiritual versus the material. And then when you blow them up, what trace is left of that tech?
Yeah, exactly. Because imagine if you could materialize anything and levitate and do all this stuff like be a Jedi. Would you be like interested in material technology like laptop, like computers, even or social media or like machines to cut stone? Why? What are and they would say that we are primitive, that we need some kind of machine to cut the stone and place the blocks. Literally. And if you read some ancient texts, like for instance Mahabharata, in Mahabharata there are plenty of like remote viewing stuff showed or parapsychic abilities. They tell you that there is a physically blind person that can see the battlefield a few miles away from his palace, and he's seeing this battlefield with remote viewing of some sorts or astral projecting. It's not specified, but I think it's very interesting, because if you had that, why would you do technology? And actually to some extent,
Why do you need that piece of metal in your hand that can talk to somebody around the world for? I can do it
if
in
I
here.
can talk,
I mean,
yes, we would have like telepathic conversations, and I think that's maybe one of the things why we don't have plenty of evidence for these lost civilizations, lost people. But also I was talking that these kinds of codes, especially connected with zodiac signs and processional stuff, repeating history, I treat it as some kind of instructions manual of being here on Earth, and especially the Yuga cycles. Again, from Mahabharata in ancient India, they tell you that there are these ages. The golden age is full of spirituality and you can do everything. You don't need anything material, but then there is this Kali Yuga, you need more matter, Dvapara Yuga, etc., etc. So I think that, if this tells us that, and this tells us that in this age is all about spirituality, psychic abilities are 100%, but in Kali Yuga, approximately 25%, 1/4. So I think it's a great parallel to what we are talking right now, that maybe they didn't need to use material technology to do all of these megalithic things.
In
I
times
completely
of
agree.
in times of history, I would advise, for those that don't know, go and see the Mayan calendar by Ian Lungold and Time Wave Zero by Terence McKenna. And you'll find exactly what you're describing here of these cycles of time. They're completely predictable. They are right on the right spot. And sorry, John, I just want to say this. In terms of technology, we tend to project our concept of technology into the past, and therefore we create the word primitives. Well,
Exactly.
we are primitives in so many things, right? And the ancients apparently didn't thought in terms of a silica mind as we have today, that everything is based on silica and electricity. They couldn't care less about silica and electricity. Especially if you go to the megalithic world, it's almost like a type 1 civilization. If you look at the megalithic world, the world was connected by the crystal matrix of the earth, right? But my point is, besides the Fibonacci sequence, there's another one. There is the music, the notes of music. And this is how you find the scale of the monuments. It's either by sacred geometry, and sacred geometry divides into Fibonacci and musical scales. And the planets, as you were describing, they were on this orbit. If you do the same exercise by the notes, you'll find exactly the same thing, right? But it's not in terms of the frets as we see today. And I was lucky enough, when I was in medicine, I participated in a study that will become a book from its author, from James P. Shears, where he is showing, and he's a person that tests his theories over and over again until he's certain. I think he's already correct, but he's still trying to see if he's wrong, is that the spiral that you found, instead of being of Fibonacci, he applied the musical notes. So there used to be 5, and then we went to 7. So there's different types of making the scale. And when applied to the alignment of mounds that he was looking, it's a spiral that it stretches, and it stretches for almost 300 miles. And you can find the sacred sites exactly on the next note. And then you see where the next note is, you put it into miles, and you find exactly the next note, again, the next mound and the next site again. So they knew all this. They even unraveled the spiral and put it straight. Right? So
That's why the music of the spheres when it comes to
exactly.
It's almost
exactly.
logarithmic.
Yeah, I wanted to actually do that with the music stuff, but I didn't have time and didn't have knowledge about, music stuff. I want to further
Just don't
elaborate
do
on
it
that
with the
in
7,
future.
because the 7 is pretty modern. I had to do a research of that for him. So the 7 notes that we use today are very modern. He was using the Indian scale, and the Indian scale is where you can find all these connections, not on our scale.
Yeah, what I wanted to ask you, Alex, can you use the constant of 108 and the circumference, the distance, the middle of the sun to the middle of the asteroid belt, that distance?
I haven't
Can
yet
you use
calculated that.
to determine the size of what that planet might have been?
That's a great idea. I haven't done that, but I tried because I was interested in the Mars, especially the Phobos and Deimos. They are pretty crazy when it comes to how they are. And I remember I was calculating something, but it wasn't, going very well. And I also think that maybe these 108,432 maybe only with the Earth right now, because of this, complete disharmony of the entire solar system due to possibly a cataclysm. Because only here on Earth we have life right now possible and in full lush life. And I think that maybe that's why I, titled this paper that maybe such 432, 108 and golden ratio may be dependent on, life may be dependent on them. And maybe, on Mars, on Venus, there is none of these, and that's why there is no life there. It's my, possibility. But as Ricardo was telling you that, you can see that this was all in harmony to some extent. But right now there is disharmony, so on the Earth. But I will do in future more calculations of this sort. Right now I have more time.
Thank you.
Excellent work.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for that presentation. And like I said, young people working on this stuff. I just love seeing the interest grow, and more people trying to connect the dots all over the world. And working together versus just taking answers and from the established narrative, because we're not going to get the truth that way. And so the work that you're doing, I think, is very important. So keep it up, Alexander. I really, really don't stop, man. You got a career ahead of you.
Yeah, bravo.
Brian, did you want to get into the roundtable discussion that we wanted to have before we check out some Mars anomalies? And real quick, I wanted to say thank you so much to everyone in the chat. The chat is killing it today. Lots of good interaction. Screwdriver Tuning liked and commented on every single one of our channels, I believe. So thank you so much for that. But anyway, Brian, go ahead.
Oh, sure. Before you close the window, can I say one thing on Oleg before you close the window to him? Let me just say, Oleg, thank you. Yeah, thank you, man. Look, I'm not a numbers guy. Like in real life, they kind of turn me off usually, right? But I love how you guided us towards the end by touching on these numbers that are encoded, right? And through all of your numbers, with your graph we highlighted, but through all of it, I saw before me a dude that is using the material, what I call mathematics or the understanding of the material, right, to wrap his head around something, this great mystery, the side of the spiritual thing. And you were guiding me there, right, with these numbers and this understanding of the material. I just saw before me a very excellent sort of melding, right? I was sitting here going, look at this guy using maths to teach me about spirit, right? It was just beautiful. And I wanted to thank you for it, man. That's all. Go ahead, guys.
Yeah, great. I always wanted to actually show also people in simplicity, with this all funny graphs that this times 108, this planets, etc. Because from my experience, having teachers, and when they, for instance, new lesson and they start like from the middle and you know nothing, and they are talking to you some things you don't even understand. So I always try be to some extent professional and go in depth, because I know there are people who know some of these things and will be bored if I just go on the base level and on the surface level of that. But I try to get everything easy, and then if someone understands that, then they can go deeper into maths and into calculations.
Exactly.
Let me just say that the difference between the measure of the pyramid and the diameter, that error, can be calculated to the year of the pyramid by the amount of accretion that Earth suffers every year. So we are constantly receiving material from space, and the Earth is growing. So that difference, some people say that if you calculate the amount that enters the Earth by year, you can recede and find the year of the pyramid being constructed.
I need to check that out. Very, very interesting. Yeah.
Brian?
Yeah, you know what? We'll hold the discussion for last. I think what we should do is pivot to Jean's presentation, but let me set it up here. Dave, do you know Skywatch Signal on Twitter?
I definitely follow him, but I just don't go on Twitter a lot. He's been all up in the chat today, though, as well.
Oh, has he? Yeah, I guess that's cool. Well, I wanted to give a shout out to Skywatch Signal there. He's been helping. He's been supporting this Mars disclosure stuff. He's got a pretty big following there. So thanks for your help there. But he pointed me in the direction of somebody new to the Mars disclosure community who I've just become slightly acquainted with. And it's a woman from Norway. Is that right, John? Norway?
Yep, that's how I understand it.
Her name is Carrie Sivertsen. Forgive me if I'm not pronouncing that right. But she had been posting in Skywatch's, Discord or something like that. And she just started posting on Twitter, specifically posting Mars anomaly photos from the rovers. And right off the bat, sort of out of nowhere, she just starts posting some really interesting stuff. And it definitely got my attention. I haven't Zoomed with her yet. I haven't met her, but she seems to be really into this. I'm not sure exactly what inspired her to do this, but I'm certainly welcoming her to the community. And I think this is just, it just demonstrates how, people are becoming inspired and getting into the game. And, I'm really excited for her participation in all this, because right off the bat, she's starting to find some really cool stuff. And one of them, actually, Jean is going to present a couple things that she posted. One of them she discovered. One of them had actually been discovered prior. We'll show you that. But the one that she discovered, I thought was really damn cool. And I said, Jean, we got to do a video on this. I think Jean did post a video on this. For anybody who follows Jean already has seen this. But I wanted to present these two things to the panel. One is obviously an anomaly. Two, we're not so sure about. So I said, let's throw it to the panel, see what you guys think. But I wanted to take this opportunity to acknowledge the help of Skywatch Signal and welcome Carrie Sivertsen from Norway to the Mars disclosure community. So, John, please take it away here.
Sure, thanks, Brian. Okay, Dave, I'm sharing my screen. Can you guys see it?
Not yet.
Got it.
No, we got it.
Okay, great. Okay, so as always, I'm listing the URLs to the original photographs, so guys can go check it out and see these things for themselves. So the first one, this is the object discovered by Carrie. So yeah, we're looking at the original NASA photograph. And we'll take a closer look at that anomaly right there. So to the left, as always, conventional magnification, and to the right, a deconvoluted upscale. So you can compare the details in both. You can see the upscale is pretty accurate. And there's a closer look at this totally out of place artifact. Note the smooth surface of this object. It looks almost metallic or a type of a plastic in construction. The material is very different to the surrounding terrain. I'm sure you guys agree. And then what makes it really interesting is this flat part on the right-hand side. That seems to be, if you look at where my mouse is, it looks like there might be an opening here, and that part fits into it. And it looks as if this object is also dented, and it's got two thin parts on the right-hand side. Sort of like, I don't know, like handles maybe. I don't know what you could call those. But that
How close is this to the Mount Olympus?
to Mount Olympus,
Yes.
to Mount Sharp. Oh, this is in Gale Crater, near Mount Sharp.
I'm just wondering if it could be a thrown stone from the volcano, right? Because it's enormous, so it reached big distance. I'm just putting it.
Yeah, the three huge volcanoes on Mars are very far from this site. As I say, this is in Gale
Four
Crater.
vents, three small and one absolutely gigantic.
Yes. So this is the one that Carrie found. It's remarkable, and I'm sure you'll agree it's not like anything at this site.
John, go back to the wider landscape shot so we can see the whole area there. I mean, that's the thing. If this was just simply in a pile of other things like it, not a big deal. But obviously, it sticks out as being completely different from everything else. You have a rugged landscape, and then you have this perfectly smooth object.
Yeah, if you're going to tell me it's stone, you need to explain to me why it didn't erode or change or alter like the rest of the stone around it. That seems obvious.
Yeah.
It doesn't appear to be. We can't understand what potential. I mean, if it is in fact an artifact, we can't immediately. We don't have any insight as to what function it might have. But over a million years, what would, what erosional forces would have, I just don't understand. Why would it be so smooth, have such a distinct shape?
I think we have always tried to eliminate what is the obvious or the possibilities. And one of them is Mars is called the Jinx planet because so many missions failed.
Yes.
So this could be one of pieces of one of those missions that failed, right? We have to eliminate all those possibilities. And just when in the broader frame that you showed, there is some very interesting flat that flat stone that looks like a square back there. It's also interesting to me because
there's one here in the foreground as well.
Yes.
At the bottom of this image.
Yeah, I noticed that square right angle up there as well. It's interesting. And I find in most of these images that we see that you show, you'll highlight one potential artifact, for lack of a better word. But we'll always see like other things that are interesting in the background. It just lends to me the idea of like, you know, I don't know what the hell this thing is. It definitely stands out in the in the environment as being different, but it just, as we're building, as we're looking at all these things, it really shows me that, like, you know, potentially something destroyed a bunch of structures on this planet and scattered the pieces everywhere. And what you guys are doing is finding, you know, the remnants of that, the ancient remnants of that.
Yes.
Jan,
And you know
is-
what?
Is there
Um,
any
sheer
other
number.
image?
Say again?
Sorry. Is there? Why is it black and white?
I did manage to extract the color using DaVinci Resolve and a DCTL bias script. And that's what it looks like.
John,
Obviously-
John, go back a few slides and show them the one with the grid. That's for people who don't know what you're talking about.
Yes.
The conventional photo, the raw photograph, as found on NASA's website, has this grid-like pattern. It's grid. It's called a Bayer filter, and as I understand it, John, they use, it's a special type of encoding that
Yes.
NASA uses so that they can later extract out color information, right?
Correct.
Okay, so NASA did take a color version. There is a color version of this photograph that exists, but has not yet been published. Okay, NASA, to remind everybody, NASA has their public-facing website, which is where we got this from. They also have something called Analyst Notebook, which
Yes.
many months later, maybe like up to 6 months later, they update this Analyst Notebook with all of the raw images, including the color decoded versions of what was originally published in black and white. So eventually, NASA will release a color version of this.
Yes.
But right now, Jean is a keyboard wizard, and he's able to process this in the way that NASA does, to
Correct.
extract out that grid and to resolve the color information that was encoded into it. And he's using a plugin which comes with DaVinci Resolve, which I think what is it, freeware, and they just put their logo up there, Jean, which is why we're seeing it.
Yes, I'm using the freeware. I can't afford the license. DaVinci Resolve costs almost $300.
Okay, so forgive the logo here, but we can clearly see right here, if Jean's extraction methods are correct, and I have reason to believe that they are because he knows what he's
Yes.
doing, and I've seen enough color photographs from NASA to know that they look just like this. Remember the cylinder?
Yes.
Same thing. It has this particular color to it. So okay, go ahead. Now that we got that context.
Yes, the DCTL bias script I'm using as a generic script for the Curiosity rover. And with every photograph taken, the analysts adapt that script to match the conditions or the settings parameters of the camera at the time when they took the photograph. So obviously the generic DCTL bias script I'm using doesn't take into account the specific parameters of this photograph because I'm not privy to that. That's in metadata that I don't have.
So
the color
Mars
could
would be very accurate, but not the artifacts, because it could be red and it wouldn't make it red because it wouldn't make sense for it to be red or green.
No,
Is
no,
that it?
the surrounding terrain around this thing is basically the correct color.
That's
And
what I'm
the
saying.
color of this artifact is pretty much very accurate. But as I say, the script they use, they alter the parameters of that script to match the conditions and the parameters of the photograph at the time, the camera's settings. So yeah, we're getting a rough estimate of the color of this item, but it's probably like a bluish, silverish color. And also you can see there's a lot of interference in this photograph that's called Moya distortion or Moya pattern. And if you've got the correct parameters set, it reduces these lines and blurriness. So I did my best here to extract the color, and it's pretty accurate. And as soon as there's a color version of this, I'll do an update video.
Yeah, but by then they already painted that. Whatever color.
I doubt it. These types of anomalies on Mars have got this strange dark blue, silvery color. You know, I was thinking about.
You need to link
Say
up with
again?
Ricardo. You need to link up with Ricardo Petrazzi. He wants to sponsor your DaVinci Resolve.
Oh, lovely. Thanks, Ricardo. I appreciate that. It's a yearly subscription, as far as I know.
That would
Like
be cool.
everything else. You will own nothing and be happy. So, yeah, this is roughly the color of that item. But as I say, as soon as they release their proper color version, I'll do an update video and you'll see it. It's pretty much the same color, except it's going to look a lot better. There's going to be less of this lines and blocks and things. That's the Moya distortion.
See, this is the advantage of the community here. We've got, God bless John Ward and his ability to do this. I wouldn't know the first thing about doing something like this. I don't write scripts and do this kind of stuff. I mean, John is doing exactly what we hope NASA would be doing, right? Going
right.
to this level of detail and investigation and trying to bring out the details, following the lead, right? Trying to see where it goes. But no, they just put it
Yes.
out there without any comment, leaving it to this group to figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
And I might be willing to engage in a conversation where someone might say, oh, well, that's just rock varnish, because as we understand, rock varnish is this black coating that happens on rocks. I mean, if you really want to go there, but that's invoking biology. However, I've seen enough rock varnish to know that this doesn't really look like rock varnish. Rock varnish has an inconsistent layering on the rock. This looks all uniform to me.
I'm going to show you something similar to this.
Oh, here we go. There we go.
Towards
Good.
the end of the presentation.
Okay. Okay.
But first I want to show you Chris Kavanagh's discovery.
Okay.
Can
Okay.
I'll point
Yep.
to the next one.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. There it is. It's this weird item in the middle of nowhere.
Trash can or something.
Yes, yes.
Now,
So
before
this,
before you zoom in on it,
yes.
from this distance, what does it look like to everybody?
I said trash can.
The cube of some sort.
I would say a bigger rock, but not a natural one, but like it would be all scattered, all of these rocks, and this is like a bigger debris.
Yeah, it looks like maybe the same material, but certainly it's got a square quality to it that puts it out of the running for wind and water erosion.
Ricardo?
And there's the funny part on the right-hand side.
Honestly, I really can't say it. Apart from the fact that it looks larger than the rest of the surrounding rocks, until we zoom in, I have
Yeah.
no idea
Okay.
what it might be.
Yeah. That's fine. Go ahead, John.
Shall I go in closer?
Yep.
Yes. Oh.
Okay.
Oh, it's a
I'm
sack
always
of rain.
I will show the comparison of normal versus.
Never mind, it's a water jug. Okay.
So yeah, initially, Joe from Art Alien TV also presented this about 6 years ago on his channel after Chris Kavanagh emailed him this anomaly, and Joe uses conventional magnification on his close-ups, and he speculated that there's a handle, almost like a coffee mug, you know, like a handle, and you could see through the handle, the ear of that handle. But in my upscale, I tried something like 8 different upscaling models with various parameters. And the best I can get to resemble that what could be a handle is there on the right-hand side. So to me, that looks more like a, I don't know, like a slot on that block.
I agree. I think it's a depression
yeah.
on the stone instead of a handle. Yes.
Yeah.
It could be. So we were iffy about this one. I think we decided not to do a video on this. But we wanted to throw it out to you guys because
Look at the top left. Sorry, I thought I was unmuted. I'm sorry. There's what looks like half a drill hole in the left right there. So there's
Yeah,
a rock.
even
If
better anomaly.
You see up there? Yeah, right there. No,
There?
up. I'm sorry, up. Right, yeah, there. So that sort of looks like the reverse effect of what you've got going on there. Like, you know. Sorry, guys. Again, I thought it was on mute, but it's pretty cool
No, it's fine.
to drive home your point that each one of these pictures, right, guys, it's not about any one particular anomaly for me. It never has been, right? It's about the overwhelming number of anomalies and how when you pull up a picture here, however I may feel about one particular thing you're showing me, I can still find another but wait a minute, that one is weird there. That's what to me just overwhelms about all this is it's the number. Thanks.
Do you know what's interesting? This piece over here next to my logo, that there is also very odd. It's got like a copper color to it. I don't know what that is. But to me, that's also very strange.
That is strange. In the top right of the quote handle, it looks like there's like light going through. You know what I'm saying? But then at the bottom, it looks more like a depression. So it's a very trick of the eye trick. I don't know. I don't know what to say about it.
Well, that's the complication sometimes with upscaling, Dave, is that it wants to merge the different planes here because it's not sure how to interpret the image, which is why upscaling in this case doesn't really help resolve this handle anomaly. It sort of just mashes them together. So to really get a proper analysis on the three-dimensionality of this, I think we have to really just rely on the raw photo. But it's of such low resolution that I wouldn't really want to spend much time really going to bat for it. But I would love, just the overall conversation, because it's kind of like right on the fence for me.
Yeah, and I like what Jason said about the overall, like it's not about this one, it's about how many we're able to look at, and we're just scratching the surface on the show, guys. If you're watching, there's so much more on John's channel and a few other channels. Mars Revealer, Gary Legier, checking out. Just overwhelming, right, Ricardo? You're going to say something.
Yeah, I was going to say it's a shame that this institution that goes to Mars doesn't have money to buy color machines to take photographs. It doesn't have money to take
Yes.
Right.
an array of focus in their cameras. They can only focus on one spot and can't see the rest, and doesn't have enough movement to go to these objects and photograph them around. If they know, because they know there are people that are going to look at these images. This is not something that started today. People have been doing this for a long time. So if they want to demystify this, just go to these objects, go around them, photograph them, show them that war, and we'll see and be amazed by the constructions of nature in terms of geology, right? But no,
Yes. This is one of the examples of how good their color conversions are. So the color of that item that I showed you first is very much the same as this. See what I mean by that bluish silver tint?
Right.
This is what that photograph should look like.
That was a statue of a buffalo.
When they do the color conversion, it's going to be closer to this. So it's got that bluish, silverish tint to it. But guys, I want to show you this. Look at that part to the top right. It looks like sheet metal that's been ripped and bent. And then this
It
item,
looks like a chopped off rock, like very hardly chopped off.
yeah. But this item in the center, check out here to the left-hand side where the mouse cursor, mouse pointer is. It looks like that a hole that's been ripped into it.
It's hollow.
And the piece is either bent in or bent out here. And then on the right-hand side is what looks like an elbow joint pipe. Can you guys see that? I don't know what to make of this. But I wanted to show this to you to clarify the color. This is basically
But
what it's
this
going
is-
to look like.
What is the scale?
analyst
What is the
has done
scale
it.
of this thing, John?
That there would be, I'd say, roughly a half a meter in length, this thing.
Only a half a meter?
Half a meter to a meter, I'd say.
So all of these pieces of the same color that are different from the rest of the surroundings, could it be something that crashed down?
Yes. That's why I'd love it if Michael Craig, who wrote that Secret Missions to Mars book, could come onto the program and we can talk about this stuff, because he's got whistleblowers that talk about these secret missions to Mars. All these items that we're looking at could be wreckage. We don't know of some missions that are off the books.
I see very oddly, I see what Oleg's saying. That it's like all the pieces, and this is what I always go back to. All these pieces look very oddly broken. Even if I assume it's rock, that's kind of what I always see. That's what I work with here on this planet, right? I see
Yeah.
it's like it exploded by force and shattered.
Well, if impacted the floor, yeah, there is force in it involved. So,
Well, I mean, I guess what my mind sees is I can it's like I want to take all the pieces and sort of stick them back together and then have 'em,
exactly. But I
you
think
know?
an algorithm could do that somehow.
Yeah. So, what do you guys think?
I wonder what
What
is
did
on the
Mike-
other side. Is there a face? Is there a shape? What is on the other side?
Yes, we don't know.
Because if
When
you
it
look,
comes-
when they cut the Colossus of Mammon, right, the top of the face would look exactly like that, for instance. So I'm not saying that it is that. I'm just saying that he could be part of a statue, or it could be part of a structure, or it could be a machine, or it could be some of our Mars Voyagers that crash into Mars. So many of them failed. So
When I look at this black and white photo of this first one, this polished one, or looked like it was polished, this one, yes, it reminds me when I was a kid, I was always, looking for rocks, looking for crystals, chopping them off and saying, where is the crystal in this or that? And
Yes.
I was finding such rocks, and these were natural, that you can find even in similar conditions that everywhere else, all the rocks. And I mean, in a natural place, not where people were like getting more rocks, but I mean, you can find such situation at this, but I mean on a very small scale of rocks that you can put to hand. But if it's bigger than that, then it is an anomaly. But I
Well-
found many times similar rocks that everywhere
Oleg,
else are. Yeah.
you can find it, but it's out of place. So
Yeah.
what is the mechanism that transports it to a situation where it's out of place?
Is it out of place if I was able to find it a few times maybe, or it wasn't like for me an anomaly, but also the color is an anomaly for me. Maybe it's the Mars thing, but always these ones, I found many of them actually. These ones were like brownish, a little bit between yellow and brown, something like that of a color, and you could find them in such anomalous places, but for it to be this color, I haven't found such. And this one looks like scattered, like there was
It
some
does
kind
look
of
like
explosion.
scattered debris. Yeah,
To me, it's a crash site. That's what it looks like.
for sure.
Or maybe also, you know, the camera or the technology to get the colors, whatever, is making too much difference between these rocks. Maybe it's also that these are this strong color and the rest is that, but, you know, I don't know.
Well, yeah.
Crazy Swede said I
This
checked
is the
some.
data that we have to work with.
Can I show something that Crazy Swede pulled up?
Yeah.
He said I don't know if it's a he or a she, but showed some Mars photos and found a white object standing out in NASA's photos. He posted on his X account. I'm going to steal the screen share just because I like this kind of stuff when the chat is involved in sharing and getting, you know, like asking some of these questions with us. But if you see the middle left, there's a weird white object. If you could tell us
Yes.
where exactly you found this. Have you guys seen this one before?
Yes, I featured this one a while ago. It's a
Here's the
debris
zoom
from
in.
the lander.
It is confirmed debris from the lander.
Yes.
Okay, interesting. It's still
But
cool to
this
find
one
that.
looks like something either metallic or plasticky, but the
Right.
other
Yeah.
ones that we've seen were completely different, like more rocky, more like megalithic.
True. I'm gonna stop sharing that.
I want to also mention here we got some nice comments from somebody called Miami Nights. He was giving us some nice comments there earlier in the show. Just want to give a shout out to him or her, Miami Nights. And we got a super chat from Rasuno Cairo saying, "Let's put Pluto back in. It's still real to me, damn it."
Yeah, and it's always important to it's going to be, first of all, Pluto's going to be real to all of us who grew up with Pluto as a planet, okay? But it's important to shout out those super chats. And something else of note, and it's one of the reasons why I love doing this, is, you know, we got Ricardo Petrazzi wanting to connect with Oleg about his work and also wanting to support John in his work. And, you know, that's kind of stuff makes my heart smile because I feel like we're building something. So thank you.
Yeah, we are, Dave. Well said. So
Yeah,
I guess
no doubt.
you know, now that we've sort of been through everything and talked about everything, I just wanted to gather some just general thoughts, spend a few minutes just talking about it. Has there been any part of the analysis of Mars that has resonated with you guys in any particular way? Just want to know what you make of all of this.
Jason, you want to go first?
Well, no, but apparently Megan's dog does. She saw Jacob. Man, the first thing that pops in my head is hearing somebody wants to support John Ward. John is, you know, nothing against Brian. It was just the order of things. John is honestly what got me here, what got me interested in Mars, right?
Yeah.
I saw him on your show, Dave, and it was one of those nights where he was just like vomiting this massive amount of anomalies at us. And I was just sitting there going, my good Lord. And then at the end, he mentioned, you know, kind of his real world situation. I mean, I'm thinking I'm looking at some kind of damn scientist who, you know, must spend all of his time and get paid lots of money to sit here and do this shit, you know, for like 2 hours with you. And then I find out that no, he's just an independent researcher like we all are. And he's really putting his heart and his soul into it, you know. So to see somebody, you know, else recognizing that is what I like to celebrate about whatever just happened. And to concur with what you said, bro, no matter what we're doing here, there's some foundational shit going down. you know, and I'm proud to be sitting here, and I'm glad Brian Corey and his amazing work with getting all these Mars guys together and bringing all this attention has saw fit to leave me sitting here and commenting on it from an Earth perspective, because I see it. It's plain as day to me since I first saw Jean on your show that this is a growing movement and that it's got some leaders that understand foundations, and you know, we're sitting here with two of them now.
Thanks, Jason.
Very well said,
Appreciate
well
it.
said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Oleg, I'm really curious to hear your thoughts, because I know you put a lot of obviously you put a lot of thought into this stuff. You wrote a book about all of it, and I'm really interested to know how this might have opened up your perspective on our past, as mysterious as it has been. Has this moved the needle for you one way or the other?
Yes, I think it's very important on plenty of levels. One, that I've always been into the biggest mysteries of both the universe or history, and Mars is another big piece of puzzle into that, and we see that with these anomalies, with these channelings. I've been into channelings for many years now. It's like you cannot ignore that. You cannot ignore Mars when it comes to our origins if you want to go beyond just mainstream. If you go into more of that, if you accept that there may be some truth to channeling psychic abilities, you know, Mars is like, you cannot ignore that. But I also think for general public and altogether for all of us, it's a very important think what we were doing, because what we mostly were doing, apart of all of these side topics about channeling, about today, etc., what we were doing is basically seeing anomalies and analyzing them, and you know, confirming that whatever it is, if it's natural, if it is artificial, if it was created by an intelligent species or not, these are anomalies. And anomalies are important because when it comes to science, as it is nowadays, anomalies are the only thing pushing forward. Maybe you can, go into a particular topic deeper. Okay, go deeper into that in this kind of history, in this kind of planet research, etc. But when it comes to paradigm shifts, what are paradigm shifts? Are shifts of paradigm after the fact when there is such a huge accumulation of anomalies, similar anomalies to what we are talking and what we are seeing in all of these Mars Disclosure lives, that there are anomalies, they start, piling up, and then at some point there are too many of them. So we need a paradigm shift and to change our perspective. Okay, maybe there is something to Mars more than just natural formation, etc. And I think why this kind of thing is important, because it applies to everywhere. Okay, you see this megalith is out of place. You see this pyramid in our Earth history is out of place. This knowledge is too advanced. This kind of code is there, but it shouldn't be if they were primitive. How they did that? You just pile up and accumulate anomalies, and there start to be too many of them to ignore them finally at some point, and then you are shifting paradigms. The same for another kind, channeling, remote viewing, psychic abilities. You see that they are out of coincidence, or the maths of the solar system out of coincidence, out of just natural thing, and you see that it is anomaly. There are too many of them, so you need to change your theory. So I think that's why these are two of the most important things. The paradigm shift with accumulating of anomalies, and the first one that Mars is a big puzzle if you go beyond just mainstream narrative when it comes to the history.
Ricardo, you obviously were hip to all this before we got started, these live streams. Has your perspective changed? You think that you've learned anything? Is this all yesterday's news for you? What have you gotten out of these live streams?
No, not at all. I think the work that Jan and others have brought forward is come and brought more light into this situation. And I can say I'm very happy to make part of this, because to me is the revitalization of the work that I saw from Richard Olgan, Mike Barra, that tried to brought awareness to this situation, and it just fell and was lost. And you brought it all back with your amazing film, and you got us all here. So I think if you really envision this project as something that can go way beyond what we are envisioning now, is we have to create associations with people that develop machines, that people that are into space traveling, with creating a crowdfunding, putting Elon Musk into this situation, say, look, we want to put a rover on Mars. Can you at least sponsor us with a trip? Because he needs the footage. He needs to know where he's going to put his installations. So it's a half job going there. So it's all a matter of thinking as big as possible, getting the population informed about this, asking for their support. Because if we get $1 from 100,000 people, is $100,000. If it is for 1 million, is 1 million, and so on and so forth. So it's all a matter of bringing this to the people, and that's what you're doing. That's what his team is doing. That's what Jean is doing, with a great work of Dave supporting and putting us on the air, and Megan, of course, and Oleg that it's also producing. So I think it's just keep moving, keep thinking big instead of small, and I think this can go very, very far. It could be the first initiative of a private mission to Mars.
I have reached out to Elon Musk
Love it.
on X and via email, but I haven't received any response.
Well, we don't have anything concrete, but when you have people that are in space engineering, creating vehicles, when you have people showing locations, when you have a plan that is organized, a person like Elon Musk wouldn't jump in, because if he does, he will create his own project. It wouldn't take ours. You see what I'm saying?
Yes,
Yeah,
but I think that with more
It would
of-
bypass us completely.
Yes.
We have to be
Yes.
needed. He has to need us in order to support us, because if he doesn't, he can do it himself.
Right.
I'm
Yes,
waiting
but
for a call, man.
Yes, but I think that with more sharing of what you, especially John, are doing with these anomalies, I think these are interesting to most of the population, or whoever is interested in just, science, or just how the universe works. And I think this is a very interesting thing. And at some point when you gain, some kind of exposure when it comes to social media, maybe media, traditional way, some people at high ranking, maybe not exactly Elon
Yes.
Musk, but of his caliber, may be interested in that, because
Yes.
I think, these are the anomalies, and everyone, looking at some, especially, the cylinder and a few others, see that there is something to it. Maybe let's do more research, maybe fund some more research into that. So I think that
Yes.
we should continue. We should continue.
I don't know if you guys know Dr. Max Derechany. He's a theoretical physicist. He's been on Ross Coulthard's show on News Nation, talking about UAPs mostly and moon anomalies, but now he's into Mars anomalies too. And Ross Coulthard interviewed him. That interview should be out within a week or so, about Mars anomalies. And Dr. Derechany and I have been working together quite a bit. And he's now part of a disclosure forum as one of the lead scientists that's going to go and talk to Congress about moon and Mars anomalies. So it's gaining critical mass. We're going to get to that point where we can't
If
be
you want to
silent.
control the results, you have to control the project. Otherwise, you will
it's
never be
gaining
sure of the
momentum.
truth.
It is gaining momentum. Yeah, Brian, you wanted to say something?
A few things. Number one, shout out to our buddy Max, Derechany. John's been, working with him. I've had some interaction with him as well. He's got some connections in DC, which he's hoping to parlay into some congressional interest relating to Mars specifically. So, I hope he's able to do that on behalf of the Mars community. I'm always a little nervous when other people start talking about these things and not giving credit to the discoverers, like Jean, like Gary, like so many others who have spent their free time finding this stuff. So, hopefully Max, keeps that in mind when he does that. I think he will.
I think so. Yes.
Real quick, we got another super chat from Rasunu Kairu. Not enough rock abrasion tool rats to anomalies, rock abrasion tool, RAT. Rats to anomalies. I'm not sure what that means.
But thank you.
But thank you.
Oh, yeah.
The rock abrasion tool is something that's on the rover used to grinding into rocks. But
Yeah.
anyway, I wanted
It's
to
a
ask
good one.
Megan, you and Dave had a really lengthy chat with Dr. Allison Brown, who was the channeler, who I mentioned before. It was a great conversation. She speaks with such confidence. Every time I get her on the
Right.
phone, I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm just so inspired. Like, you're so sure of what you're saying, and it's great. She has the really difficult task of communicating or messaging on this concept of channeling, which is even less understood than remote viewing. But her and William are just so in sync with one another and their work that to me it really inspired confidence. And when she first introduced herself to me, I was just nothing but impressed with her. And after reading the book, I mean, I think you guys saw in her what I saw in her, which is this really insightful understanding of the woo, but be able to communicate it in a grounded fashion. And I know you guys talked a little bit about Mars, but I think it was more overall conversation about the galactic council of the collective that they refer to. I just wanted to get more of your thoughts on your conversation with her, and whether or not it relates to Mars doesn't really matter. I just wanted to hear you speak about it a little bit more.
Yeah, I don't know. I really enjoyed our time with her. She's a wonderful woman. And yeah, Dave and I chatted about it a little bit after the interview, and like it all just felt really good to me. Like it's hard to say, like there's all different people channeling things all over the planet and they're not exactly the same, so it's hard to say who's 100% right or what, but it all felt really good. Like everything she said, it resonated intuitively, it felt good. So I think that's the deepest I can really go into it based on the knowledge that I have. But I really liked what she had to say, and I can't wait to dive into her material deeper. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm. Dave, any thoughts?
When it comes to Allison, or just in general?
Yeah, sure. Allison or Mars, whatever.
Yeah, well, it's all that we have a big picture, a really big picture that we're all trying to look at, right? It's mathematical, Oleg, right? It's metaphysical, Allison. It's historical, it's mythological, it's cosmological, it's astrophysical, it's technological, it's biological, it's geometrical, it's chronological. And it's a massive picture that when you're talking about the human the spectrum of human ability, right? I always like to think about the human side of things. And some of us can run fast. Some of us are mathematicians or whatever Oleg is over there, right? Some of us know a lot about, technology or imaging and stuff like that. Some of us just get crazy about something and start diving super deep into something. Sarah Braley, I know you're watching. Her episode's coming out next week. And you're talking about this big picture, and I could have thrown more logicals in there because there's more. And so when it comes to Allison, she's showing us a piece to the puzzle, right? Oleg's showing us a piece to the puzzle. Jean's showing us a piece to the puzzle. Brian is putting what we've got of the puzzle so far together, in a movie, right? And on his channel and stuff like that. And we're going to need people and each other and our different abilities thinking about the big picture and looking to each other to find the answers that we need. And so it feels like this is sort of the beginning of that. When it comes to Allison, like she's such a credentialed person. Okay, she's an actual like doctor of education who, like, I think is a principal at a high school or something like that, or some high level part of it. She served in
Counselor.
Yeah, she served in the military at a high level, and she's also talking to me about, you know, channeling Mars and channeling Enoch and channeling Archangel Michael and Raphael and all the stuff. And I'm not like a super woo guy, but I am a very open-minded guy, and I will hear that part of the puzzle, because I know that like my senses only observe a certain very small portion of reality, right? And I also know from talking to so many different people on my show and meeting people in person at conferences and things like that, that there's an unseen world. There's an unseen realm that's accessed through things like meditation, through psychedelics, through channeling and things like that. And it's when I'm talking about a spectrum of human ability, I think metaphysical, spiritual, whatever you want to call it, abilities also exist on that same spectrum, where it's like I mentioned, some people can run fast, some people are good at math. Well, it turns out that some humans are really good. There's like a Michael Jordan of channeling or remote viewing out there, right? That stuff is real. All right. I don't see it. All right. That's not what I do. That's not what like my, human capabilities are here for on this planet. I have a different role.
Yet.
Maybe, yeah. I have a different role, but that is a piece to the puzzle, the metaphysical part of it. And so I'm open to it, but this is a big fucking puzzle.
What is interesting about what you've said, that there's a spectrum to disabilities, this is exactly what ancient Gnostics and a few other sects, religious kind of groups believe. They believe that there are, for instance, some of them said there are 3 types of people: casual people who just live in the material world, some people that are partially psychic, and these highest people who are mystics, and for them it's easier to access all of the spiritual stuff. So it's as in the title of my book, it has already been like all of these ideas. It was very common.
You guys are highlighting, and Dave, you said it, what my favorite part about this show is, and a guy just said it in my chat, and it's not only to participate in, but I hope it's for the content as well, is that it pulls on so many different facets of the areas of knowledge which those of us in this general community are already sort of equipped with or familiar with. Just in this conversation alone, where we've covered is pretty incredible. And the fact that we cover all this territory centered around the mystery of Mars is just very, very impressive and enjoyable to me.
Looks like we got another super chat. If you have your eye lens removed, you can see UV.
Well, I think he's commenting on what I was saying about, so like, here's the thing, like we perceive the universe different than a cat does, right? Then you could go blind when you're 30, knock on wood. I'm 44, but whatever. And then you perceive the universe in a totally different way. Even there's how many of us? 7 of us here. We all have varying degrees of eyesight, varying degrees of smell, and so it's you can't.
It's not that bad.
I guess my point is, person to person, the universe is different, and so it's important that we hear everyone when it at least here. There's woo out there, there's bullshitters, there's grifters, of course, but it's important that we do not like discount like the metaphysical piece of this.
Yeah. Oleg, I was telling Dave that, as I'm reading your book, I consider myself one of these dot connectors. Okay. Like I speak with the specialists who are all in their silos, right? And they don't really talk to one another. So they don't really have the full picture, but they damn sure know whatever the hell it is that they're studying, right? And this is where I feel like I can contribute. Is like, okay, if you just put all these pieces together, then you can see there's a bigger story to be told here. And I really see you as being that same type of that same type of mind. I mean, maybe everyone here is to some degree, but I'm reading your book, and so it's just off the top of my mind. And I think that, Dave, just like what you said, like we each have our own strengths and perspectives. So with Mars, because it has been so marginalized over the past half century, there's a lot of work that we have to do to bring us out of that credibility deficit that we're currently experiencing, because people just think, oh, that's just crazy stuff, right? And the more dot connectors we have on the team, the more we're able to relate this to existing areas of study, the UFOs, the ancient megalithic stuff, because I do think there's overlap there that the majority of people are completely unaware of. I think there's enough there, but I've only spent just a year or so just sort of making those connections myself, because Dave, as you said, all of the logicals that there are with Mars, it's a lot to take in. And then how do you relate this entire weight of thing with everything else? So anyway, I'm hopeful now that we've got this team developing. We each have something to contribute here, which and I'm really happy. Jason, you bring an energy to this that that's I have not really seen before, man. It's just like, dude, you'd be a lot of fun to hang out with one day. And Ricardo,
he is.
I just love the amount of knowledge that I don't know how your brain doesn't explode, because you just got so much up there. And you're tweeting about everything every single day. And I'm like, how does Ricardo have the time to look into all of this stuff? And Dave and Megan, you guys are on the forefront of getting all these guests on your show to talk about this, that, and the other. And it's hard to keep up with it all. But I think in this group here, we've got some talented folks. And anyway, hi Sarah. Sorry you weren't able to join us today.
Shout out Sarah. She's still in here somewhere. Universe Unveiled. Check her out.
Yeah. So anyway, cool, man. Well, I guess we could wrap it up, Dave.
Yeah, let's just go around the horn quick. Everyone can say where, give their final word. Say, anything cool that we can expect in the next few weeks or months or whatever. Let us know. Start with Jean.
Dave, yeah, thanks, Brian. Everyone on this team adds something. We're putting the puzzle together. But I'm going to find more pieces, which is going to make it more challenging, because I'm a nuts and bolts guy. I'm going to find more and more and more anomalies. Hopefully one day there's that one piece that connects this all together.
It's the map. It's the map.
Yeah, man, I tell you what, and I love doing it. I love rummaging about on all fours looking for stuff. And I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you very much. And to everyone in the chat and all our followers and supporters, thank you, thank you, thank you.
And Jean's got a really cool video that he just dropped a couple days ago of another feature that we didn't look at today, and it's crazy, so check it out.
Thanks.
Ricardo, final thoughts, and what are you up to?
Oh, I'm up to the top of my head. Apart from that,
Yeah.
I'm just thrilled to be somehow involved in this, although I have not contributed in any way beside my presence. But I'm very happy to be a part of it. And in what I'm doing is, well, I couldn't start to explain. It's too many things that in too little time. I just want to say you were trying to give me voice at the beginning about the film. The film is the responsibility of the same team, the same producer that creates Lost America that you can find on Patreon, right? When I say my film, if I say it that way, is because I cut it. So I had the footage and I assembled it and tried to make a story from beginning to end. So that was my job on that video, was that. So again, everybody that can go and see it, it's on my X page. And if you want to help Fred and Jermaine Pigeon, please do, because they've doing incredible works. It's like what we are doing here today. We are starting. They have done it for 30 years, and they actually managed to save an entire site during those 30 years, which is unbelievable. So and thank you for sharing it here, Dave, and thank you all for all the work that you do.
Awesome, and thank you, Ricardo. And I think you contribute to that more than you're giving yourself credit for, by the way. Just all of your observations and questions that you ask, informed questions that you ask during the presentations, really add to the discussion. So, yeah.
You bring in alternative points of view.
Yes.
Other aspects that we don't think about. So there is a major role for you to play in this panel, for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mr. Huffman, exploring within and without. Is that it?
Finding things within and without. That's my series. What I'm busying myself with now, and will be doing right after this, is Ricardo and I are reading through the De Soto Chronicles, reading about what the Christians did to the natives. Come learn with us. We're also begin a series on the shaman and the philosopher, reading Ricardo's own book, Stardust. Our next episode will be on consciousness, my favorite subject. And thank you, gentlemen, for the compliment and the energy compliment, because honestly, energy is very important to me, and I couldn't be known for adding anything better in my mind. So I'm touched. Thank you guys for what you do and letting me be here.
Awesome, man. And I wanted a special thank you to Alexander Cheshkovich for his presentation today, linking some math into the equation, pun intended. Again, I said this twice, and I say this to you all the time, but like, I can't believe you wrote that book when you're 17. And I just see a massive future ahead for you. So thanks so much for joining the show and being here with us and giving that presentation. So what's going on with you coming up, and final thoughts, please?
Thank you. I'm trying to squeeze a few lifetimes, few incarnations into one. Simply speaking. Thank you. I really enjoy such format as these panels, and I think these are the best because, let's say, I can present something, another one of you can present something, but it's the feedback, it's the questions, even skeptical ones, or even another ideas, what stands behind these phenomena. This is, I think, the most productive thing, and the thing that can, put everything forward. So I really enjoyed our conversations. Unfortunately, I haven't been on a few because it was during nights, but yes, and thanks today for letting me sharing these things, because I think these things personally are one of the currently most important things, because they can inspire plenty of people. Maybe someone loves maths, maybe someone loves astronomy and will start calculating all of this stuff. Maybe someone will go and find even more ancient texts, connections with all of that. So it was a very important topic to me. So thank you that I could present it, and thank for everything.
It showed, Oleg. It really did, man. I mean, you did. I'm going to echo one more time. I'll let somebody else talk, but you did an amazing job. And thank you for, you
Yes.
brought the maths in. And there's lots of people out there that like the maths. I don't, but you're going to get them interested in the subjects we're interested in with your genius. And I appreciate it, dude.
Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. 17. Yep. Megan, always bringing the positive energy and the smiles. She's running the board here in the background. So really appreciate you. Final thoughts on today's episode.
I'm just loving seeing this community grow. Like we're doing something really cool here, guys. I'm just like very grateful that I've somehow gotten to be part of it. In this podcast every day. And really stoked to hear we got a lady in Norway getting in on this.
Yes.
Like,
I want to hear more about
ladies
that.
involved. I love that. Always think
We should have a congress. where we
You
all
better
get
be ready,
together.
Megan, because you're the only one dressed to go to Mars, so you'll have to go. We'll just
Oh, I'm
keep
ready.
hearing-
Talking about energy, Megan brings it. Dave's got the brains, and she's got the beauty and the energy. They're a hell of a team. And yeah, thank you both.
The brains, I don't know about all that.
Well, I had to give you something, dude. I mean, I can't just hand
I'll
you a
take-
bum
I'll
back
take-
and call
I'll
it a
take Braun.
day.
How about
There you-
Braun?
Okay.
We both got the beauty. Come on, guys.
Yeah, yeah. And speaking of bringing more ladies into the fold here, the gals at Universe Unveiled have a great show, and they interviewed another lady who's new on the scene here, but we're about to be hearing a lot from her. Jason and I talked to her on my show. Jason filled in for Megan while she was camping. And we talked to Miss Sarah Braley, who I think is watching. And she's is potentially sitting on a massive piece of the puzzle when it comes to ancient history, ancient humans, especially when it comes to the northeast of the United States. And we have an episode with her dropping on Friday that I'm certain you will not, it'll be stuff you've never heard before, okay? And you'll be seeing sites you've never seen before, and you'll be understanding North America in a way that you never did before when it came to ancient North America, right, Jason?
Absolutely. And I'm going to ask you, Dave, would you mind if we piggybacked on your energy and had her on the roundtable on Saturday?
Okay, yeah, go for it.
Cool.
Yeah, she needs to. Her message needs to get spread far and wide because she's doing it, but she's doing this by herself on this like maniacal mission to like protect these sites as well as tell the true story of these sites and how ancient they probably potentially are versus what mainstream gives them credit for. And
You have a screen share of her conference?
I might actually somewhere. Let me.
Bet Tammy
find
can
it.
drop a link in the chat.
Yeah, Tammy's gonna be there. I have it somewhere. I've been going through my chat with her, but we've been chatting like a lot, so I can't find it. But
Imagine what is to arrange a conference by yourself, right?
Yes.
I think Tammy,
Right.
of course, it's part of it, but I mean, with no other support from organizations or institutions, you're just doing it as a civilian. So it's just impressive what everything that she arranged and did. So.
Yeah, and it's a free conference too. And
Free.
we talk about somebody who is not looking for credit for stuff. She just wants to protect these sites and tell the truth about them. Man, I can't find. I might be able to find that on Facebook. Brian, while I'm trying to find this, why don't you go ahead and give us your final thoughts? And Brian, the people in the chat, they've been saying it all night. Don't stop what you're doing, buddy. You are onto something, and just don't stop. Okay, that's what.
Don't.
Okay. Thanks, man. I
They
appreciate
contact
it.
you
And
and say, "Here is $1 billion. Don't forget us. We'll stop too." Okay.
What's the documentary, guys?
oh man.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, man, I'm into it, and I'm really happy that you guys are with me because it makes the whole process, makes the whole journey a lot more fun. Ricardo, I downloaded that big old Hoagland thing. It's going to take me a while to go through it, but I do think we should talk about Hoagland one of these days. Basically, what I'm referring to is the Mars disclosure attempts that preceded this generation. You know, I just need to kind of brush up on it myself. But
It's
you know,
many hours of viewing, so I understand if people.
yeah, but I think you and I should collaborate on that. You probably are more familiar with it than I am, but I think that's something we should eventually talk about.
There's your end to contributing, Ricardo.
You would be the heavy on that one for sure.
Yeah.
But anyway, guys, I've already said, and I've already patted our backs here a lot. It just gives me, you know, great feeling about doing all this stuff here. You know, Dave, let's talk offline about what to do for the next show and where to go from here. But you know, I think we're getting some great comments. Like seriously, you guys are popping up some great guys. This is great, man. Megan, like you said, I think we're really onto something here. And you know, the more we get people participating, engaging, and commenting, and wanting to contribute themselves, like maybe support John doing what he's doing or whatever. Like this is where it starts, guys. And you know, thanks again for joining us today.
I just wanted whoever is going to design our rover, he has to have at least one drone because we don't want to be limited to the ground. Okay.
Okay.
Please put a drone on it.
This is the conference here, guys. Set in Stone Megalithic Conference, Saturday, August 8th, 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. in Putnam County Veterans Memorial Park. A meeting of the minds dedicated to the research and preservation of the stone chambers and related megalithic structures of the Northeast. Exhibitors, researchers, panels, and a live debate. Come with respect and an open mind. You can get your free ticket on Eventbrite, but it's. Look, I'd never heard any of this shit before, and like I gotta be honest, I get bored of ancient Egypt and stuff like that, and then you find out that there's like this megalithic, mystery here in Northeast United States. I just blew me away, really did. So,
Agreed.
With that, the music turned off. Let's turn it back on. With that, that wraps up another. How many of these have we done, Brian?
9.
9?
9. Yeah.
Okay. That wraps up episode 9 of Mars
crazy
Disclosure
year,
Live.
y'all.
It sure has. Light, love, and truth to everyone. And we will see you guys next time. Adios.
Thank you.